We're just gonna.
Everybody ready? I call the meeting to order. We will start with roll call. Jay Toller.
Jay Toller, John Cole, Holland, Mockler, Graylobe,
Here.
Brady,
Here.
Teasy,
Here.
Gilbertson.
Here. Oath of office. Is that what we signed?
Yeah.
Did everyone sign the oath of office?
Yes, they all signed. Yep.
So we've got recommendations for the Consolidated Board. Candace Spurlin.
Well, she was questioning the finished square footage of her basement. Linnea and I went and measured, and we were off a little bit, so we did adjust the finished square footage, and then we also adjusted the type of finish that was in the basement. We changed to rec finish instead of partition. We did have a recommendation of 203,903, or went from 221,170 to 203,903, totaling 222,386 was our recommendation, and she did sign off on that, so.
You can make a motion on the floor.
Yep, we do. We need to.
I'll make the motions because that change.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. JC and Anna Field.
Okay, kind of same situation here on this one. They submitted their letter of appeal. Here, do you guys want me to read letters of appeal on recommendations? No, okay. They had just purchased the home November of 2025. It was after November 1st, so within our assessment year. They purchased it for 200,000. They had some water damage.
2024, 25.
November
Here's
1st,
it says
it was after November of 24. You're correct. Thank you. My assessment year runs from November 1st of 24 to November 1st of 25. So it was within that time span. And they had water damage in the basement, so they had to cut out some drywall. And so we reduced the level of finish, just accounting for what was on the walls, and the ceilings were still drywalled. And so there was also an effective age, and we had to dig into a little more about what was remodeled and to what extent it was remodeled. After an inspection, it didn't seem like it was, our depreciation wasn't depreciating out due to an effective age the way it should have been. So after that, we determined that the house should be lowered from 224,610 down to 183,021 for a total of 202,262. And they were in agreement with that as well.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Larry Brady.
Larry Brady. He purchased the Circle 13 motel and removed the campground improvements, the bathhouse, and then there was a canopy where you kind of pulled your car in. All of that was removed before November 1st. If you look at the picture I've included, we were actually out there before November 1st, pictured that it was gone. Due to error in the office, it didn't come off of his record for the assessment notice. So he came in, we just sat down and took all the improvements off that were gone as of November 1st and arrived at the new value for improvements, reducing it from 256,684 down to 178,818 for a new all-in value of 354,247. He agreed with this. I just didn't have it drawn up in time for him to sign it before he left town. So
I move to approve your recommendation.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
all right. Yeah.
You got?
Yeah, if you want to.
I'll talk just for a minute since I took the time to be here.
Yeah.
1 second, Jim. So Dave, you're gonna take over since I sit on the chamber. I gotta
Okay.
recuse myself.
Oh, so do I.
Yep.
I'll just pass a hand out and may have it.
And I am a dues paying personal member of the Chamber Development Company. Do I need to repeat myself as well?
Repeat them then.
Yeah, I'll be in
I
a,
don't think so. We probably about it, but.
yeah, I was gonna say, just making sure, yeah. Wanted to be open about any, yep.
As long as it's very Valley Grove, doesn't.
They don't own it right now, right?
Nope, they don't own it.
And you don't have any discretion.
So I'm just put this together, I'm talking to Linnea. So in 2006, this is the property where VTC Center building. So the valuation is a little over $5 million that you have it at. Our taxes were 106,000. Then I show a picture of the building. So we do have it up for sale at 3.25 or lease the one portion that's open for 13 square foot, triple net. You go to the next page, list the address, Cherry Street, take you through the list price. It's 3.7 acres, about 29 to 31,000 square feet, depending on how you measure. Built in 13 with a TIF, so you're not getting the taxes anyways, so it comes back to the chamber for 2013 through 2033. So it's the only one, and if we sell the building, the TIF goes away. Building cost was about 4.9 million. Show the taxes again. I referenced as a comparison, there's really no good comparison in town. She's the expert, can tell you all that stuff. So I use the Eagle Creek building, which was built about 95. The taxes are 10,000, the value is 460. There's the building on Kidder Street for sale. You could use that one again. It's not really apples to oranges. Then I take you through next page. I just show you what the Eagle Creek building looked like. The next page, we have Bender Commercial out of Sioux Falls is trying to lease or sell our building. So they did their estimate of evaluation 3.1 to 3.25. And I show on the attached last two sheets, they had recent sales, which we had given to Linnea beforehand. Also working together, recent sales, they had some competing properties that are out there. For those that are Brookings grads, just so you know, that innovation spec building's been for sale for about 8 years at 4.2 million. That's nobody's moved into. I'm just saying for those that are from. So just wanted to show you the history, how they came up with it. And let you guys consider or turn it over. Any questions? So it's really trying to help on the taxes. We always said when I've been at the chamber, like, it doesn't matter, we pay it for the back. But in looking at if an investor, somebody out there, based on valuation, our county or others, it's high, so it helps with that. Otherwise, they'd be in here doing it. We'd rather do it before. If you're so kind, indeed, it should come down.
Flipping over to the county book, unless you guys wanted a second on that one. We kind of included the same stuff. I have their PT 17 explaining what Jim's talked about. And then I also included the vendor market analysis that they included with the PT 17. I think of note is that listing prices are not market prices. That's kind of standard practice in assessment. Don't look at listing. Don't look at stuff that's sold after November 1st, because that's in your next year. So for me, I think the ones that made the most sense to compare to was that third comparable for Bender, the former, is it Fiserv call center purchased by Avera and converted to a dialysis center. You kind of have that mixed use in biomat between your plasma donation, where it's kind of more medical, and they've made some changes for personal property that make it more sense to be a medical space, such as they have the ability to bring like a pallet jack through. They've put some smaller garage doors for that kind of stuff, along with unfinished storage, and then the access they've built in for their freezers, which are personal property. And then on the other side, you have just a very large, open, pretty average office with not much for partitions. So looking at that, I think that Fiserv building was good. And then, so what we did is we went out and walked through with the VCDC and did an inspection. The first thing I noticed when I looked at the property card, if you flip to the page where there's a picture of the front of the building and then two sketches across the bottom, we did not have it sketched in correctly. Angles are hard and we've done a couple conversions since this was built. So with the conversion of data from Terrascan to ProVal, it looks like it wasn't sketched in right. So we adjusted the sketch, which dropped off around 500 square feet. And then when we were out there, we actually went around it with a tape measure and measured the outside of the building too, just to make sure that we were as accurate as possible with the angles. And then if you flip again, what we had it in as was a computer center, which going back to Terrascan, this same code was considered a telephone building, which I'm assuming is what was closer to like a call center. But with the update of Marshall and Swift, it's now considered a computer center, not a telephone building. And that computer center is more like a data center. Its costs are for unfinished raised flooring, for extra airflow, for a bunch of servers. This is not a data center. The other thing is that we had it is steel framing, but we had fireproof steel frame class A when the old record indicated that it was actually a class C building, steel built. And so we switched it over to office, which more accurately describes what it is, and class C, which still accounts for steel framing, but it's not class A. And what that did in our cost table is reduce the value from on the building from 4,909,551 down to 3,444,977. With using our square footage from the measurements on the outside, that puts it at $111 per square foot. Going back to the comp that is mixed medical and office use, that one is sold for 118 a square foot. Again, Sioux Falls market, not Vermilion. We've talked about what we have in Vermilion. I mean, the FSA office on Kidder is the closest, and that's an old building, and it's a fourth of the size. So that's my counter offer, but I think in reality, mostly what we're trying to do is get it palatable for an investor so that is actually beneficial for the city and county.
Well, I think your methodology all sounds really sound to me. I think you walked through several steps to justify the change. I mean, I think that what you voiced of making it more palatable to an investor would be wonderful, but probably isn't a sound justification for making changes. So what you outlined do all sound like sound justifications, and they align with what we're doing in other properties. So I'd be comfortable making a motion to accept your recommendation.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I just want to get something on the record here. So we're saying that our buildings in Vermilion are as valuable as buildings in Sioux Falls.
No,
No.
I'm saying that this is what is in my system.
But we're-
It's my recommend. It's the only comps we have. I called Yankton County. They don't have anything similar. I called Union County for stuff in the dunes. They have an old, or I don't know if it's an old or a new VA hospital was the closest they had. It has significantly more partitioning, and then it was built in like the 80s. So
I mean, I'm okay with the evaluation, but when we see girls from Sioux Falls, I think that's apples to oranges.
I agree.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
I
All those opposed? Motion carries.
And with that, if it does sell here before November 1st or a lower value, that's something my office will revisit obsolescence on. Kind of values are 1 year at a time, right? We're always looking. It's a unique property, and we're open to it changing further if that's what the market indicates. It's just where we're at.
The goal is if we sell it, go on the tap. Thank you, everybody.
like to see that.
Thank
Thank
you.
Yep.
Okay, so now we have Kimberly Dawn Carter. She here?
I don't think she was attending. She said she had work today.
Okay,
So if we're like 4 minutes ahead of schedule, I think, but I think oh no, we're on time. We're good. Okay.
3 minutes. Oh, no,
Yep.
yeah, we are. Well, for her, we are. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yep. Okay. Kimberly Dawn Carter at 833 East Duke, number 82, I believe. Yes, number 82. I'm just going to read her letter for you guys. Dear members of the board, I'm writing to formally appeal the 2026 real estate assessment for my 1971 Four Seasons mobile home. The current assessed value is listed as $2,233. I'm requesting that this be reduced to $1,000. I purchased this unit for $1,000, and I believe this reflects its true market value given its age and current condition. Historically, the taxes on this 1971 unit have been approximately $50, and my requested assessment of $1,000 is consistent with that history. I have included a copy of my bill of sale and photos of the property to support this request. Additionally, as I am currently receiving SSI, I am filing this appeal in conjunction with my application for the assessment freeze for the disabled and the sales or property tax refund. Please ensure my current mailing address is updated in your records too. Sincerely, Kimberly John Carter. On the back page, she included her bill of sale, which indicates that it was sold for $1,000 with a $35 titling fee. It has extra information about the mobile home, but I think of particular note was the special provisions. It says the sale of this home has been deeply discounted with the expectation that the home is staying in the park for at least 5 years. After discussing this a little further with Kimberly, I was on the phone with her yesterday. I think there was some misunderstanding in her receiving the assessment notice. She believed that was her new tax bill. That is not the case. Her taxes have not gone from $50 to $2,000. They are still in the same range as they were historically. I looked at a couple of the surrounding properties that are also those older mobile homes with similar assessed values and similar tax bills. The only thing I noticed is that she is not owner occupied yet, but would qualify for that. So I'm going to have her come in and fill out owner occupied here for a future year. That's what I would suggest, is that we leave the value as it is, and then we'll get her owner occupied.
So she didn't have one occupied for last year.
No. And we would have mailed that to her in January. The deadline for owner occupied was March 15th, and we did not receive that form back.
And then she's gonna do the disabled freeze.
Yes, and whether or not she qualifies, that is private information. But per her letter, she was turning in information for that.
Taxes are still 4836. Okay, not the.
Nope, her tax bill did not go up that amount.
Right.
And if you're noticing an error between her assessment and her letter, she was using the taxable value of her home for the 2,233. We actually have it assessed at 2,290.
What do you have for comparables around there on this?
I did not print them for you. I apologize, but if you look at like the home directly to the south of it, I believe that one was right in there. And then 2 doors down was another like 74, 75 mobile home that was closer to $3,000. And if you look at her historic valuation, we did update depreciation on mobile homes in the last few years. So you can see that in 23, it was 4,000. In 24, it was 4,400. And then it drops down to the 2,290.
So you just need a motion to leave as is.
Yeah.
I make a motion to leave it as is.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
All right.
All same sign, motion passes.
And it looks like they should. Good.
I thought there were 5 people on the council, so I made 5 copies
Oh.
of one for you. But there looks like there's also, are these part of the council too?
Yes, so we have a consolidated board
Yeah, so
today,
you have
but
big
they can,
representation.
Okay,
And
okay.
want assistance passing them out?
No, I'll do it well, yes, to you. This one is for your table, which leaves.
That's fine.
5 for them. Do you
Yeah.
want to figure out who should get it? But I have a second one that is also, or a third. Where did mine go?
No.
Okay, this, and then this. And then The second one is there's one for you. And when you do these two and they go 1, 2, because there's 2 with each, they're staggered. Okay.
And so when we start, Lene will get 5 minutes and you'll get 5 minutes.
She can go first.
She can go first. You want to start?
Okay. The first deck, which is this one, has the supporting behind it. So really that just tells you where I got these figures from. Okay,
So
and so,
quick question. So this is all summarized here.
yes. Okay, and what this is I worked for years in the title company when it was Century 21 and did all the searches in here. And now I have a home-based business that is working with lenders for refinances. And so I'm very familiar with all the online hookups for taxes and that. So the first one, as you probably know, is Beacon. And the first 2 pages come from Beacon. And it tells you about the house. And the third one, Zillow, just tells you about, the only thing it really tells you that you don't get on the first is the bedrooms. And on this, I have the first property, 406 Dakota, which is the one I'm appealing. And then I have all the ones that are comparable on it, you know, the 3 blocks. And the thing I want to note, but yet I don't think this is where the discrepancy came from, is that Zillow talks about it being a 4-bedroom house, which it is not. It is a 2-bedroom house. Okay, so 2 historical things. One, when I got this house back in 2005, it had wrong taxes on it then. And it has had, not that you knew, but I knew, it has had wrong taxes for all the years on it. I just didn't know how to appeal. So this isn't something you guys changed. This has been for 20 years, since 2005. My taxes have been dramatically higher than every surrounding house. And I didn't know how to appeal, so I didn't bring it in. And last year I contacted in January, but then somehow I missed the day thinking because they said March. And so I had to wait a year, so it's here. So it's not a sudden change. It's something that I've dealt with for 5 years. Second, during that time, because it is a 2-bedroom house and tenants rented out, this is a rental property on the first floor. And now if you look at this packet with the floor plan. And if you look, the second floor has 2 bedrooms, a little storage room in the back with a sloped ceiling and a bath. Do we see this one? It's not in that whole thing. It was the second one she handed out. Okay, yeah. And if you look at the second floor, there's 2 bedrooms there. And then if you look at the first floor, there's a dining room, a living room, and a like half kitchen size thing. And the bathroom on the first floor. And what we've done is and code has approved this for the last 10 years. We've used the dining room and the living room as a bedroom. And that's how you wind up that my Zillow ad talks about there being 4 bedrooms in the house when there's only 2 bedrooms. And then what the tenants do is they use that basement, but the basement is pretty rough. It is finished, but it's like it shows, has that ledge all around it that takes up the space. You know how in old houses, they have that big concrete ledge and it goes around and does that. So that's what you have. So now this house is actually one of the smaller houses on those blocks. And if you go back to the first paper that tells you what everybody's getting charged, I have a 2-bedroom house and I'm getting charged in tax 5,500. And when you look at the assessed value on this, they're talking about, what was it, 200 and something thousand. And this house, I work in the real estate market, I work with refinances of rental properties everywhere. I have a very good knowledge of values. I would be lucky to get 180,000 on this house. I would expect it somewhere between 160, 180 is what I would get on this house. Somehow it has just been wrong all along. And when you look at what are the addresses on the block and what they're paying, and I understand that some come in later, you know, and sell for this price or sold before, something like that. But on which.
Yep.
Oh, God.
1 minute.
Go ahead.
1 minute.
Oh, 1 minute left. On one of them, my value of my house, when I had it appraised, was. I thought I asked me on tape.
I think it's the last page with the sketches,
Oh, thank you.
or no,
And
the other one.
the 127 in 2010, and you guys have my house valued at, I think, 250,000, and it didn't double in price in 15 years. But you've had it valued like that since I bought it in 2005. And I would say that this first page that lists all the comparables up and down the house, which are rental properties, does speak for itself, showing you that I am 2,000 over the average and 1,500 over the highest on there. Okay, thank you.
So in my packet, I included Jill's appeal letter and her comparables. If you want to flip past those, I put them on a comparable sheet for you guys to just kind of glance at that. Here's a pen, and then this is.
You can keep your.
This is what I am looking at.
No.
So this is the comparable she provided in her appeal sheet. You can look at assessed values per square foot and sale dates and sale prices.
So all of these are the ones that she recommended that you recommended as comparables.
It's not the list she brought in today, but it is the list she provided us when she filed for the appeal.
Okay.
Yep.
So they're different than the ones that were in the packet that were just handed out
They're
today.
the exact same, they're just additional ones. The only one I don't see is 422, but the 508 and 512 and 502. I have 502 on both, yeah. 502 and the 426 and the 414. The only one I don't see on my list is oh yeah, I have every one of these.
Okay, perfect.
good.
The first thing I'd like to clarify is that when we appeal, we're looking strictly at values, not the tax bill. There are different things that affect tax bills. I understand her concern with that, but that is not what she is able to appeal today. We can't adjust a tax bill. So with that, looking at her home compared to her comparables, I think one of the first things that jumps out to me is that when it comes to level of or amount of finish, if you look down across her property, we have square feet of total finish at 2,649 square feet. That includes basement finish. And of her comparables, the only one that's close is 512 North Dakota at 2,056 square feet. So we have 600 square feet more. Without being able to be inside the property and remeasure that, that is something that I have a hard time changing my data. And based on her sketch, I'm curious why, even looking at the above, the above grade is 2 stories. Got it. I was going to say, why is the above grade so much more? I get it now. I know my numbers. So that's one thing that I think I would like to visit is if it's possible for us to be able to measure basement finish, especially with the ledge walls. That's something our office has policy on how to deal with that I don't think is currently accounted for. And then if you flip to the next page, I have the comparables that I pulled showing that our level of assessment is in line with others in the neighborhood. You can see that our sales range from the lowest is 185, and that was in 2023. So it's been 2 years since that sold. Whereas our more recent sales in 25 are 263,000, 290, and 249.
Which houses?
The first three comps on the second page. So if you
Which one?
flip one page from where you're at.
No, this is my paper.
No, that's what I just. There you go. These are the comps that I pulled from my office. You'll see comps 1, 2, and 3. 1 and 2 particularly being similar in square footage overall. They sold for 263,000 and 290,000.
Which one sold for 263 over on Yale Street?
Yes, it's a rental with
Okay, go ahead, sorry.
Yep. And then 305 Elm was another one that is a rental that sold for 290. Comp 3 is a duplex that sold for 249. Comp 4 is a rental on University at 279. So these are kind of the rentals in the area that I was looking at. No, I have not been inside the home. I don't know the last time our office viewed it.
I did leave quite a few messages.
Can we adjourn and do that?
Yes, you can do. That's an option.
Because, and the other thing I've noticed when you talk about 422 Dakota, that is a 2-unit house.
That is being occupied by one person now.
Right, but it's 2 units, 3 bedrooms up and 2 down. In no way is it comparable to mine. Okay, go ahead.
Hold on,
I'm sorry.
one of the other questions I have, thank you for this packet, looking at these photos over here. I do see a dining room photo here. Now, is there a pretty that's to the right?
No, it's minuscule, it's a small little room that is like the length of that wall and the length of that wall, and that's its.
The reason why I asked that, so looking online, I see Zillow has the 4-bedroom, like you stated, homes.com, really the 3-bedroom. I think in the Beacon it stated 3-bedroom as well, and that could be where the discrepancy is that dining room may be classified as a bedroom because it has a closet and windows that are big enough for egress, so that could be listed as a bedroom on a real estate website. That's why I asked those questions, and we can see where that discrepancy is coming from. So I guess,
The second page on this has the footage in the house. And when I do the footage, when you were saying before, I get 832 for the first floor, 832 for the second floor, and that adds up to 1664. And then you've got a basement beneath it. That's a rough thing. And even if you do 832, you're coming up with what's 16 plus 8, 24. You're coming up with 2464. Which isn't what you were coming up with on it. You've got 2649. And even then, most of it is unused space, unusable space because of the layout.
After visiting your appeal, after I got your letter and looking at this data and compiling these, I'm not disagreeing that there may be potential to change things. I'm just saying that without our office getting the chance to go do that, that's hard. I know Melissa reached out and called you, and then I called you on Friday to let you know the time of the appeal, and we did not hear back from either of those messages. I don't know if we have the wrong phone number.
No,
That's possible.
the problem is that when I do my reports, I work until 4 o'clock in the morning. So I don't get up to my desk until noon. And so and I know the first time you called me, I was just at my desk after having worked all night. And it's because abstractors send me back deeds and mortgages, and then I write reports all night. And when you called me, I was like, just awake, not making sense. And I meant to call you back, and I meant to this week. And then all of a sudden the letter was there. So it's me not being on it, but it's a lot. Yeah.
So here's where we're gonna be at.
Okay.
We're gonna table this
Yay.
Can you allow her in your house in the next
Yes.
2 weeks?
Right now, that's be done, so.
I have a family that lives in there now, and actually it'd be good to see it now because they're doing two parents in one bedroom and two children in the other, and the living room and dining room are being used appropriately. So I would say it is so much easier for me to do it the second half of the day, like 4 o'clock.
So
Finish
here's-
ahead of
But then
time.
they get back to us.
Can I propose, since our next meeting, is our consolidated board free Tuesday, the 28th in the morning?
So we.
So here's-
Regular commission meeting, and if it was possible for.
Yep, that's what I'm saying is they have commission meetings. So if you three are free to come back on the 28th in the morning, then we can say, what is your normal
You can-
Tuesday?
I'm sure we can do
Did
that.
you see a calendar? Does that help?
Of April,
Yes.
what is Cassie? We have a grandchild coming in Colorado. And
She
so,
lives in Colorado.
okay, we'll say the 28th
Jill,
for now. Let's
Jill,
hope so.
we do offer a Zoom option.
Yay.
So if you're not able to come on the 28th,
Okay.
so let's have our second consolidated meeting on the 28th in the morning, and then next week, Tuesday. Does that give your renters enough
Yeah,
time?
it does. And
then we-
do towards the afternoon, like
Yes.
4.
Yep,
Is
that
it
works.
okay?
4 o'clock on the 21st, we'll do a walkthrough.
No, that's the baby then.
Okay, so how
No,
much?
Can we do it sooner? Can
Yep.
we do it?
I just
like
thought Tuesdays would be easy, so I was throwing that out.
yeah.
We can do it this week,
Can we do it like tomorrow? I'll just tell them that it has to be, or the next day.
tomorrow.
Today's Tuesday, so Wednesday.
Would it?
Yeah.
We
4,
could
that's
do,
good.
we could do 4 o'clock tomorrow,
Okay,
if that gives your renters enough time.
I would make it.
Okay.
Tuesday 28th, I would reference the meeting time, so I don't need to worry about when you guys schedule your time. I reference the 28th, at least with us. I can either make one or the other, Zoom or in person. Probably.
You guys don't have to come to the walkthrough.
No.
He's trying to say the 28th
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah,
Oh,
to be quite honest with you, you guys have to figure out one time for your walkthrough. We don't have to figure that out either this week.
Yeah.
28th, what time?
So we have a 9 AM meeting, regular
Does it
meeting,
have to?
so we could put
Can
this
it
in the
not be
beginning.
One like this is, it can't be like 1 o'clock. I'm not lying when I say I work every night till 4. Okay, I'm gonna be really not in it.
Was Zoom is okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Zoom, so you don't want to
Okay.
require you to come in.
All right, so it's at 9 o'clock on Tuesday, the 20th.
She'll have to give you the exact time.
Okay,
but does
'Cause
that work?
That's when our meeting starts.
tell me your phone number.
605-677-7140.
Tell me your.
Linnea, L-E-N-N-E-A.
My one granddaughter's in 11, so Elliot.
So, yeah, or Melissa as well. That's our office line. Okay. We go.
Thank you so much.
And do you mind if I keep all of this?
Yes, please.
And then you can
This
keep.
is your thing, this
Oh,
is my thing.
that's
That's
a
your
different
thing.
property.
Okay, thank you
Okay.
so much. Thanks.
Thank you.
You need to make a motion on that, by the way.
Yeah, just motion to table.
Motion.
To table? I'll second that, yep.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign, motion passes.
All right.
We've got Tailwind Vermillion LLC, 1129 Cottage Avenue.
And they are not on, they told me they wouldn't be able to make it. I just wanted to make sure. All right, so they have 3 properties. As we walk through this information, they presented it as one property, so I'm gonna talk about it as one. And then at the end, if you feel it's necessary to make 3 different motions, we can do that. So slowly walking through, we've got the 3 appeals for each property, along with the declaration of representative. And then you come to kind of your first spreadsheet with some yellow and blue on it. They are appealing because they did a analysis of their rent roll and their income and expense statements. They believe it indicates a lower value. So just starting with theirs, gonna kind of walk through and I'm gonna be pointing a lot. If you get lost, let me know. Since I'm not here with a little laser pointer for you guys. So the first thing they did is they took the gross building area of 204,000 square feet and determined that the rentable portion of it is 87%. To the best of my abilities. I have not had the chance to talk to them about this, so that was what I was assuming is 87% of it is occupiable. That leads to a net leasable area of 185,539. They then took that leasable area. They have 496 units. So they divided it by 496 for a lease. The average leasable area being 374 square feet. At a rate of $1.53 per square foot, that's an average monthly rent of $573 per bedroom, leading to a gross rent of $3,410,496. So that is how they arrived at their highest and best income. Which if you take a look at where it says market approach and then it has 2025, 2024, and 2023. In yellow, they have adding in miscellaneous expenses and then taking out vacancy and credit loss. They're looking at making less in 2026 than they did in 2025. Which didn't quite make sense. No. I don't know. These are just the numbers they were using. So
Like, they're gonna make less total income or after expenses?
it's estimated. So
Okay.
they're estimating in 2026 that they'll make less than they actually did in 2025. So that's this page with the yellow. Yep. The next thing they did is they estimated expenses per square foot, and they assumed that it would be $10.50 a square foot in expenses, which is 53.39%, which is pretty high. It is student housing, so it's not what was indicated by their actual expenses that they gave me. What they actually gave me indicated closer to 48%. But estimated expenses at 1,948,160 came up with an estimated net operating income of 1,701,071. And when I analyzed their actual income and expense that I got, they say here that it's before tax, but they were including property taxes as an expense, which is not something you do in an income appraisal because that's part of your loaded cap rate. The next thing they did is after doing that, they built their cap rate using a capitalization rate of 7.79 and an effective tax rate of 2.16. They came up with a total rate of 9.95, which after my research is reasonable. And then they indicated that the overall value would then be 17,096,193. And then in yellow there, they say less personal property fully furnished. They're claiming that of that indicated value, 20% of it is personal property. I've reached out to some tenants that I know and researched their website. They are not fully furnished. The only thing they provide when you move in is the refrigerator, stove, a washer, and a dryer. That's the only thing in when you move in. So I'm not sure where the 20% personal property is coming from. That's how they arrived at their final value ask. They rounded it to 13,677,000. That's what they're asking that you reduce the property to today.
What are they counting as not, or non-leasable area? What, do you know what they're counting?
I'm thinking that includes kitchens, hallways, common areas, clubhouse, pool.
That was my question. If they're counting like the weight room or whatever, that's
Valuable property.
valuable property.
And why is this word vacancy in there?
So it's standard practice to look at market vacancy. So let's flip to the next page. I have a beacon sheet so that you can see what we're talking about in case you were, that's the quarters. where it's located. So my office, we're directed to look at cost, market, and income approaches. We may not adopt a different criterion of value, the price for which a tract of real property would sell it for sale, or an aggregate with all other tracts of real property in the county. The directors shall determine the fair market value. I'm skipping lines. I wanted the second sentence and I jumped it. I apologize. In determining the fair market value of property, the director may not adopt a lower or different standard of value because it is to serve as the basis of taxation. So we go highest and best use. What is open market rent? What is market vacancy? We're supposed to standardize that because we're doing mass appraisal. So unless we're getting all of the income information from every person every year, where we can actually individually sit down and do income, what you're supposed to go is here's market rent, here's market vacancy, here's market expenses, and use that formula to arrive at value for all your properties.
So then the spreadsheet that you walked us through is the standard spreadsheet that any rental owner could use to,
This is the one they provided with their
Okay.
appeal.
that was not provided by you.
No.
Okay. Does it match exactly what the process is that your office would use?
No, in the past, the only ones that we've done income for were low income housing tax credits, because in all other cases, it indicated a higher value.
Okay.
Than what we had on the rolls. All right, so I decided to look at cost, market, and income approaches for these. So the first page here, there's kind of like blue, green, and red. It says cost approach. The subject property was built in 2018 with an expected life of 50 years. Our current assessment of it is they rent by bedroom. So to save time, I'm just going to point out the per bedroom costs, but I added everything if you guys were interested in looking at that. Our current assessment is assessing them at $32,947 per bedroom, and that is the aggregate cost of the clubhouse, pool, parking, all of that, average it out per bedroom. What I noticed when I went into this property for the first time is when it was built in 2018, it received a discretionary formula for 5 years. I think everyone's kind of familiar with the discretionary formula. Tiers taxation over the course of 5 years, it's 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. Over the course of that 5 years, you can't change the value subject to discretionary. So what we were doing in the mix of converting from TerraScan to ProVal is we would put a discretionary value on it and it would just like freeze the value and keep it the same. That value was still in there. So if you look at Beacon, this property hasn't changed value since it was built. It's because that discretionary value got left in. So the first thing I did is I removed that discretionary value to look and see what it would just riding out on our cost table with market adjustments, and it would actually increase it to 22 million. And they're asking that we reduce it to 13,677.
What year were these built?
2018.
So the discretionary is gone,
Yes.
and it ended in 23. I was just looking on Beacon, so 24, 25, and 26 is the exact same value.
So it was
So-
locked in because of your,
If you remember, I think it was in 2024, I did a 13% increase across the board to everybody. This didn't get that 13% increase. I didn't do the math to see if the 22 million exactly puts it there because I know there have been some other increases in there as well. But that would be the indicated by our program without the discretionary value being frozen, so to speak. Cost analysis, I looked at the city permitting software. We have 2 new apartments being built that have a reported permit value. We don't have an assessment for them yet, but it's a good indication of current cost to build similar apartments. We've got the Stencil Group ones on Roosevelt Street. The current cost per bedroom based on the reported permit value is $88,966. The 6 plexes on Cottage Street that AMS is building, the reported permit value would indicate $80,354 per bedroom. So both of those are more than double what they're currently assessed at. So the cost analysis indicates that my assessment is fair.
I would probably agree with you on that. 8 years ago, when I was looking at places, 25,000 was my magic number per bedroom unit, but it's at least double that from now. So their 25,549 is on their ask is significantly low for state market for anything.
I would concur, and especially looking at Beacon and what it's been, and it hasn't changed, you're absolutely right.
But that's what I needed to clarify. Are we,
I'll fix that next year.
Yeah, but even what they're asking is still lower than what it's been considerably, like the one property is over 1.2 million less than what it's been at, the other one is like 3 million. I certainly don't agree with this, should be less than what it's been.
so they're disputing the 17 million.
Yes,
And that's all three is that number. Okay.
Correct.
And that. But if the discretionary was removed like it should have been. It should be 22. So next year they'll be back.
maybe.
Yeah.
I am getting new cost tables, so I think we'll be able to figure out the depreciation a little better.
But. So it hasn't changed for 3 years. It's been that, I mean, the exact dollar amount. To get to that 17 million on all 3 properties. I can't see where they're gonna start losing money over last year.
Well, the other question I have is, so we use the income then in reference to the taxable amount? That should all. Sure.
Our office historically has not used the income appraisal because it indicates a higher value, which you'll see in 2 more pages. If you want.
I got you.
Yeah.
Still for 2025. So
Yes.
looking at their anticipated income down, that's the 2026 thing that we're talking about last year.
Yeah,
If they
exactly.
could prove that the income, they can use the income model.
Mhm.
They get to use whichever one benefits them the most is what I've learned.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I mean, if you can prove that the income model lowers your taxes, you can use them of the 3. Market value, income.
Yeah.
And what's the other one?
But in this situation,
Appraisal.
in this situation.
No.
still,
Right.
Yeah. All right, so next page, we have market approach. So this is looking at apartments that are most comparable when you consider most similar, whether or not they've sold. And the most similar comparable we have is the Heights on Dakota Street. Those were also built in 2018. They have the second highest number of rentable units compared to the quarters. And if you look at their cost per square foot between the quarters and the Heights, it's negligible. I mean, their cost per square foot is different by 4 cents per bedroom. It's $1,700 per bedroom. One thing is that the Heights is fully furnished, so they would end up seeing a higher expense, especially in their reserve for replacement, because they furnish beds, tables, couches, TVs, that kind of thing at the Heights. So, yeah, but as far as student housing, they're both student housing primarily, so they rent very similar people. The other one that I have is Gnomeco. These are on 214 Bauer over by Walmart. They're 3 stories. There's 24 apartments. These per bedroom are valued at $40,614, so also higher, and they were built in 2007. When I look at listings, we've got Haste Partners on Cornell. They're also known as the Sunset Apartments. They're right over by Pump and Pack. There's 8 buildings, I believe. Those were sold in 2022 for $37,500 a bedroom. They are now listed, again, list price is not current market, but they're listed for $54,000 a bedroom. And then Hazel Heights over on Madison is a pretty large complex, and they were sold in 2021 for $59,406 a bedroom, and they are now listed again at $72,277 a bedroom. So even our sales in 22 and 21 were higher. So cost wise, my assessment is not overvaluing. Yeah. And then we look at income. So I recreated the income approach using their actual 2025. They provided me with 2025, 2024, and 2023 income and expense statements. So the first thing is highest and best use of it. We looked at their budgeted rent, which for a 4-bed, 4-bath in 2025 was $580 per bedroom. 3-bed, 3-bath was $585 per bedroom, and 2-bed, 2-bath was $700 per bedroom. Using that times the number of bedrooms, you end up with an annual income in 2025 of $3,570,120. So then plugging that into the formula, I looked at the vacancy and collection loss. They had 5%. Their indicated was closer to, I believe, 3 or 4%, but didn't have time to actually look at vacancy in Vermillion for student housing. Vacancy in Vermillion is typically close to 0, but that also tends to be apartments where you have more family renters or people that are maybe renting more than just 1 year at a time.
Where are these numbers from?
Which ones, in red or green?
On top there, the
The rent per.
budgeted rent.
They gave me their rent roll from 2025, which showed what each bedroom was
So
renting
these are
for.
from Tailwind. is what-
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't give you guys the 85-page packet. I didn't think you wanted it,
What's
but I
the,
have it here if you wanted to look at it.
what's the 12% miscellaneous income?
So they have pet fees. I don't know if they have anything that's coin operated since washer and dryer. They have some parking fees and then maybe like equipment rentals for some of their amenities. I know that they rent out, they have like a party room above their clubhouse that they'll rent out and that kind of thing.
So how are you?
Yeah.
Your number and their number is 90,000 off and you're lower. How is?
I used actual reported.
Okay,
I used actual numbers. They
That's-
were reporting miscellaneous income as 12%. In 2025, their actual miscellaneous income was 319,564. Again, using actual 2025, which what they reported, if you calculate it out, is around 9.5%. So where they picked 12%. Sure. Then effective gross income, you land at that. Expenses, they were using that per square foot method, which worked out to be about 53.3%. Their actual 2025 recorded or reported expenses, removing property tax and debt service, because that's in your cap rate, was only 48%. So I used their actual 2025 expense to come up with a net operating income of 1.913680. Built a cap rate out. Lincoln County is currently using a 7.5%. I looked up several different market indicators and they indicated anywhere from 6 to 7.5, 7.75 for just the capitalization, which is a combination of your recapture and your discount rate. And then I calculated actual effective tax rate by just taking their tax bill payable in 26 divided by the 25 value using apples to apples. And I came up with a cap rate of 9.63. A lower cap rate would indicate higher value. So I used their 9.95. And using that, I came up with an indicated value for the whole property of 19,232,968 via income. I'm not sure what the 20% personal property would be. We don't assess personal property, so I left that at 0. So we're assessed at 17,346,377. Income indicates 19,233,000. My assessment is okay. It's low, but it's, yeah.
Within 20%, essentially some apartments are maybe fully furnished, not all.
Not that I'm aware of. They only have 4 model units. My thought was like, if they've got pool tables, foosball tables, pool furniture, furniture in the lobbies, that kind of thing is the best I could come up with for maybe personal property. Again, our office doesn't do personal property, so I don't have that calculated out.
Best thing. I don't. Either thing that say it's.
I mean, I don't
So-
see where they have a like stand.
I would. Take much.
I second that. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All same sign. Motion passes.
The last page of that was just if you guys wanted to come up with something different, but I think that's the right way to go is leave it as it is, and then we'll look into that discretionary flag and adjusting depreciation.
Yeah, I don't think we have a tradition of people ever appealing and then walking away with a higher valuation than was on the originally on the rolls. So in light of that, I'm comfortable with your
Thank
your
you.
recommendation.
And that the word vacancy bothers me.
It is standard. It is standard to calculate a vacancy. But you're supposed to look at your market across the board. What is standard vacancy for Vermillion, then apply that. Yep. Which, like I mentioned, in Vermillion, most of the time it's 0.
They probably did and didn't like the result.
All right, that's consolidated board.
That one looked like a lot of work. Thanks for being really careful and all of that. Good.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Consolidated board.
Make motion.
We have more yet, don't we?
That's it for consolidated.
Yeah, oh, that's now it's just that. Oh, okay.
All right, we're not staying.
Peace out. Lucky bugger.
I need a second.
Second.
Second, right.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Consolidated is adjourned.
Thank you, gentlemen.
And we'll see you the 28th, or at least on Zoom. Okay.
Good.
All right, yeah.
I'm gonna call the meeting, the county board meeting to order. Start with roll call.
Mochler,
Here.
Graylobe,
Here.
Brady,
Here.
Teasy,
Here.
Gilbertson.
Here.
And you guys signed the county oath of office as well?
They did.
Awesome, thank you.
It's 2:04. Got Wade and Chris Gruen.
Yeah.
Were they coming?
I thought maybe he was calling in, but not sure.
We can skip them right now, can't we?
Yeah, we can go to the next
If
one.
Greg's here, we can go to Goose and
Mhm.
unless you're waiting for somebody else.
I'm gonna read this. Excuse me. So from this one.
So if you flip 8 pages in, it starts with the PT 17A for Goose Inn LLC. It's the PT 17A for Goose Inn LLC. Looks like this. Deal.
Okay. Thank you guys for your time today. I really want to make sure I say something about both Linnea and Michael, because they definitely took their time and explained this to me. The best way for me to say, I agree with their interpretation of the law. I think the law is incorrect. So I agree with both of them, and they really took the time to explain it to me. My main issue, and I think everybody can be somewhat of agreement that the way the land has changed, not disagreeing with the agricultural income value for county for assessed value, is done based by soil type. However, the ground that we're talking about is in the wetlands restoration project. And so for anybody to say that a WRP piece of property is the same value as a active farm ground piece of property, I think would be disingenuous to make that statement. However, they are not allowed, based on the codified law, to change that value. I've spoken to our state representatives. Hopefully they're going to bring something to the attention of the in session next year. Unfortunately, I didn't get it done this year. I didn't really understand it or know about it. And Michael and Linnea both took a lot of time to explain it to me. So I basically want to be on record of my request of denying a reduction based on the fact of the WRP, unless Clay County chooses that this is something that they want to take on and fight the state laws. I'm perfectly fine with that, but I'm not expecting that. It is interesting to me that they specifically mention shelter belts, but they don't mention when you are in an easement tract. And so that's kind of what I'm hoping, and then Linnea and I can argue about what the value of that is when we can actually have an argument over it, but unfortunately, now she's doing what she has to do. The one thing that I would say that I would like is, when we purchased that ground, there was 106 acres of tillable ground in that property. After we purchased it, the WRP paid to have Samuelson do some moving, so retain more water in different spots. The soil type that we are, and I'm not arguing with where she came up with that, because it was 132 acres at the time. The maximum that was ever farmed on that property was 106. That actually has even gone down now since the changes have been done. If it were to go back into our active farm ground, I can't pretend to give you the exact number of acres that could be farmed on that because I don't know that answer. Quite frankly, if I knew how Linnea could go about getting us down to 106 acres, I would have had that conversation with her. I don't know how that would be done because she's only given the information that's based on this. Of the information that she gets, but I don't know the right way to do it because, what it's showing as ponded is basically the last time that this ground was farmed, which was over 20 years ago. Obviously it's changed because we've allowed a neighbor to drain his water on there to be good neighbors because it's not farm ground. The reason that these things lost when they went to the state Supreme Court is it was stated that it was a management decision to move it into the WRP program, which is correct. But today our management decision would be to take it out of the WRP program. And we've been told that it would take a literal act of Congress for us to get it out of the WRP program. The decisions we made when we decided to put it into WRP were based on the information we had at the time. Well, with the changes in the way the taxes are figured from then till now, obviously there would be a different decision made. I would like to see eventually this to be assessed and locked at what we were paid from the WRP because that was the value of the ground at the time this happened. And in my opinion, that's what the value of the ground that you should be taxed on is, because we made a management decision at that time for this amount of money. I think we got paid $156,000 for the ground at that time, and now we're assessed over 423,000. And there's no income that can be produced off of that ground based on the requirements that are in this program. Again, not a fight I think the county wants to take on, and we've had discussions with our lawmakers about that. So I'm here to get on record that we disagree with that. The decision that you guys come up with, we're fine with. I do feel that some way, somehow it should be, instead of the 132 acres that are based on the soil type and 28 acres that are in the non-farmable ground, I would like to see the farmable ground closer to the 106 acres and the rest be in the ponded, but I don't know how you come about doing that. So it would be disingenuous of me to tell you how to do that. I don't know. That would be my request. But I understand. Michael and Linnea did a really good job of talking me off a cliff. I still think it's incorrect in the way the state has done it, and hopefully we can get that changed. But it is what it is at this point, and that's what we're dealing with.
Just a question out of the blue, that whatever that dollar amount was that you got, does that enter into the value in any way?
It can't.
Okay,
No.
No, that's what I would like to see, happen at some point, but these guys can't. She can't do anything with that.
That's what I was asking. I didn't know.
Yeah, and quite frankly, I don't think you guys can do anything with that unless you want to take on the state.
Well, I don't think we can take this up on your behalf. That's.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not the first person who's come to us with similar concerns about how this disincentivizes conservation practices. And that's,
And it's not, it's what, and I don't think it was ever the lawmaker's intention to say WRP ground should be valued the same, or anything in an easement should be valued the same as farm ground. But they needed to come up with a formula, which I'm not arguing with the formula, but there should be that, that ability for the local person to look at it and say, okay, let's use some common sense here and say, your ground can't produce any crops and this ground right next to it can, yet the same soil type. Obviously, it shouldn't be taxed the same. But. So I guess my request would be to figure out a way to get us to, and I don't know how you do that, but 106 acres is what was farmed out there. And it would be less now because of the requirements. The WRP paid for that. I'm not trying to say that we had out of pocket expenses to do that, but we did build a dam and there was some other stuff that was done in order to pond the water up more that would have taken out more potential farm ground at the time. And so it's decreased that, but I don't think, Linnea, you could get that information of what would be able to be farmed if it was back into a productive.
No, but you would be able to as the owner.
I could go out and find,
FSA and NRCS should have that
Mhm.
information.
They have what was farmed 20 years ago.
Right.
Yeah,
And then you could take the NRCS map of where they dug
okay,
and do the math between those two maps.
okay. Okay, I can do that.
Because I'm not 100% sure, but I think the best you could do is prove the 106 acres that were tillable, because I would assume the rest was pasture.
Yeah, well, and the rest, no, at that time, the rest was it was swamp ground. It was around the sloughs, and things like that could not be.
Are you able to figure that in if you had that information?
Okay, here we go. Ag. So this property, if you wanted to flip forward, there is a aerial image that I included. Can I give you what I
Yeah,
had?
you can.
Okay. So we started talking about this last summer, and then more extensively in November. Typically, and Michael can maybe help me on the codified law on this, there's an application process if you want your ag land adjusted. And that does have to get turned into our office by September 1st, I believe, so that we have time to go review it. All ag land adjustments need to be run through the state. That's why, like I talked about this morning in the commission meeting, I had to remove marsh and sand, and we're slowly working on trees. That new law, including shelter belts, really put a wrench in the plans with that. But the way that we're doing it currently is not compliant. If you're going to adjust, there are 8 reasons that you can adjust. I don't have those in front of me either. I lost all my codified laws today.
I got
Yeah.
location, size, soil survey statistics, terrain, topographical conditions, climate, accessibility, surface obstructions, including shelter belts.
Right.
And that's where I said if they could add something that said easements.
And that's SECL 10-6-131.
The last time the Department of Revenue has done a workshop or guidance on ag land adjustments was 2019, before my time. But kind of Ina's last parting gift to the county as she was working towards retirement was getting our ag land in compliance. We are not able to value based on actual use. We have to value based on the soils underneath the ground. What is the productivity of those soils? And if you look, I've included the soils. Those are the black lines. It shows you how they're being used on adjacent properties for the same soil ratings. And then all those little dots of purple that say FW, that is farmable wetland. So if there's no color on it, that is crop ground. It is considered a crop soil. The purple dots are where the wetland map overlays, and that's something we've adjusted everything 10% downward wherever those spots are. This is something that the state is also asking me to get rid of, and he brings it up every single year. Where he's got Rose Lake and then the additional ponding, it's kind of hard to see, but Rose Lake is marked with a WP. The soil type here is Worthing. Worthing is a 5 wet, but the P indicates that it is ponded. Once it is ponded, it becomes the same value as water, which again, we talked about this morning, is around $203.65 an acre. So $203 an acre for ponded ground or water, or straight sand. His other chunk was just Worthing. 5 wet. 1, 2, and 3 are crop soils. 4 is up to the director. Most of ours are crop. I think out of the 11 of them, 9 are crop, 2 are pasture. 5 is your first pasture. So your top pasture is probably going to be a 5. This is obviously ponded. I double checked the new 2020 soil survey statistics that came out, and they still had it as just Worthing. They did not have it ponded. This is something that I could go to the state and say, I'm adjusting this specific area of Worthing to be Worthing ponded. My reason being the soil survey statistics do not line up with how it is actually, how it is actually.
Mhm.
So, with that, I was also able to reduce EGB, EAA, and then I think a little bit of, yeah, the EGB and EAA soil immediately surrounding Rose Lake. If you see that thin strip of pink, I was on the phone. Michael was in my office. I was on the phone with our state ag person who said that to use the 2020 imagery where it was iced over and go to the edge of the ice, that I could adjust EGB and EAA to a ponded value where there was ice. And as soon as we did that, that's how I come up with my new valuation I'm suggesting of 407, 480. As soon as I locked in that number, my ag guy at the state goes, okay, do you see over there to the west of it where you have more Worthing that has water on it? He goes, you are now obligated to look at all of your Worthing soils in Clay County because you're adjusting one of them.
Thanks a lot.
So this is how ag works. It's based on the soils, and then you have to make sure that you're doing it fairly. If you're adjusting something, you adjust everything. So to sit here and say that this EGB, which is being farmed to the north of him by Mollets, or I think there was EGB to the south as well, other people are farming it. Now that it's marshy because it has Rose Lake there, because you guys have added drainage from other things that you've moved dirt around, you've changed it, but that was all management decision, not the actual soil survey.
So, and I'll add in just before, that this is found, what she's discussing is found specifically in SDCL 10-6-130, which is the soil classification. She referenced class 4 having discretion, class 1 through 3 and 5 through 8 are all set in stone. The director, this statute also notes that the director, which is Linnea, may make an adjustment to a parcel pursuant to 10-6-131. Those are those 8 factors that Greg read off. You also see in this same statute, it talks about how it says nothing in this section prohibits the department from categorizing soil types 1, 2, and 3 as non-cropland. But I just want, before anybody gets going too far on that one, the department is the Department of Revenue. We have no say over that. So these soils that are 1, 2, and 3 that are farmland, they could theoretically say one of these soils we're going to take out of cropland. But that has nothing, Linnea can't do that pursuant to how 10-6-130 reads. That is an authority of the department, and it just does a terrible job of defining what department is inside the statute. You got to go find it somewhere else. That's the state level. Just
And if
wanted
I
to
file
add-
something by September, would that go to the Department of Revenue for them to look at it?
It comes to me, I look at it, I am required by January 1st every year to send all of that to the state. They review it. If there's something they disagree with, I have to change it back.
Yeah, I guess I would accept her, and again, I wanna say how much these guys have done, really been kind about this. But I mean, we'll accept the recommendation of the examiner. I will send something in by September, and I've been working with our legislators, so hopefully they can, you know, get something changed to, I mean, an easement to me needs to be one of the 8, now 9 things that is, you know, is at the directors, you know. Then she can make the decision, and then when she comes back still at 407, we can have an argument, but right now. I
Yeah.
agree with what she's saying.
If you flip back one page, I did share with the board the spreadsheet that Michael shared with you that shows all of the easements we have in Clay County, who owns them. Current price per acre. This does happen to be one of the higher price per acres, which is why, like I said, I tried to do what I could with those 30 acres and reducing them to 203 an acre where it's ponded. But you can see that everything's pretty close. It's all almost between 2,000 and 2,800. It's all within $800 an acre of each other, is how it's all being valued. the other conversation we had was whether or not easements should be on market value, because currently out of the 66 counties in the state, there are 2 that do it that way. Versus leaving it as ag, they put it as a market value. They have sales. We don't have sales. The last one we had was on Hawkeye Farms, which is, I have Goosen highlighted in blue, and you go 3 lines up. It sold May of 2022, and it sold for 3,500 an acre while it was in an easement. This one also happens to be in the floodplain, so it was completely underwater in 2019. I didn't have a flyover in 2024, but I guarantee it was too, because I thought they were farming it, but had we checked and they had to reseed all the grass because it got washed out so badly.
So this is a current complete list of all conservation easements? In
Yes.
the county?
In
Perpetual.
there we go.
easements, okay.
Is that gonna be a 30-year?
There's like CRP is like 30, 10, 15. There's some other easements out there. This is specifically
Those aren't easements though. Those are
Right.
Just CRP. These are actual
Right.
easements.
Yep.
I think there is a 30-year easement, but yes, these are just the perpetual easements, correct?
And these all, so these all prohibit what uses? So what uses have been specifically sold? Does it vary a lot?
Basically everything but entry. Like you are still allowed to enter and leave your own property, but everything else is pretty much prohibited.
You could still use it for agriculture though, couldn't
No.
you? You may not. So this is,
You can hay a little bit in some of these.
Well, we get to hay a third every 4 years. So every year we can hay a third of it. And then there's 1 year off, so you can't hay it. And it basically pays for our maintenance for weeds and mowing and stuff like that. So
Pretty much
there's
that's
no,
it. Other
there's
than
no
hunting.
income really per se off of this ground.
No.
And there's no guarantee every year we went like 3 or 4 years where we couldn't hay anything. And then you're just paying for the weeds and if we would have known then what we know now, we wouldn't have done it.
All of us would have made a lot of different
Yeah,
decisions.
yeah.
I do think it's worth mentioning this one kind of got caught in the crosshairs of that actual use change. It used to be one of the lowest valued ones in the county when it was on actual use because it was all pasture ground. That change was supposed to be made in 2009 and then wasn't caught up with until INA started implementing it in 2002 or 22. Thank you.
I didn't know it because I didn't look at my assessments until I went to pay my taxes last year. It was a big shock, but that's on me. It's not on anybody else.
So with all of that discussion, I am recommending that we lower that worthing to ponded value. And so my new recommendation of value for it is 407, 480.
Appreciate all the work you've done and both of you, but yes, I motion to move to approve Linnea's new recommendation.
a second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, same sign, motion passes.
Is there? I'm just trying to think for when and if we need to go further with this. Is there anything that you can do to deny a request? I don't know if that would be, you think that's gonna be important, Michael, if we need to go further with this, that I suppose not, because I made my request when I
Right.
sent in the thing, so. And again.
Yeah, we didn't grant your request, so if you wanted to go on to peer, you still can.
Yeah, well, I have to hire an attorney.
I know, it's always a kid.
And until the legislature goes, and again, I want to thank everybody, I appreciate you guys, I'm not complaining by that request I just made, I just wanted to make sure, so, thank you guys.
Every time you come in, we get educated on something. So
Yeah, you always bring us an interesting one. Thank you, Chris.
I was told Wade Druin is trying to jump on and I'm wondering if it's the wrong, I'm wondering if he's using the link for this morning's meeting.
I don't see him anywhere.
Who do we have here? We do have the Johns here if we want to jump ahead to that for now.
Rich, Andrew?
Oh, yeah, and then I was gonna. Is this for me or do you have
There's
one
one
for
for
every?
each.
Two. Thanks. And then I have. But, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's true.
I didn't get one, thank you. Can you give one to Dave? I did. Thanks.
First of all, I'll say good afternoon. Thank you so much for having us, and it's not nearly as complicated as the last. So, Rich and Andrea John, and we're right at the beginning of Timber Road, 46169 Timber Road. And we are appealing our 2026 assessed value for 472,000 because it represents a 35% increase from our 2023 assessment. Despite no improvements to our home or the surroundings, we believe the assessment does not reflect the true market value as required under South Dakota law. So the core argument, of course, is property specific and based on location related disadvantages, not personal finances or generalized tax complaints. Our home was built in 2015 at a cost of approximately $240,000. Much of that was self-labor, only minor improvements. Last completed in 2020. No, there have been no other area upgrades, infrastructure improvements. Of course, there can be no residential development in that area. So the location factors, we feel, depress the market value because of the high traffic in the intersection. We are located 100 to 200 meters from the major highway intersection of South 19 and 50. And then there's a railroad there, and then we're also surrounded by industrial ag land. But about a third of the traffic, so there's probably about 15,000 to 2,000 vehicles that go by our acreage, confirmed by South Dakota DOT counts. A third of the daily traffic is heavy truck traffic. They're often using their Jake brakes, accelerating, decelerating, lots of noise, train noise. And then that intersection is also accident prone. There's a curve there. If any of you are familiar with it, or if you would visit the property, you would see that they often go through that curve where Timber Road meets Highway 19. Of course, there's no sidewalks, no walkability, no views, no residential neighborhood continuity. The conditions have worsened, not improved with the traffic since we moved in there. Traffic volume has increased. Also, there's a gravel pit operation down the road, so truck activity on Timber Road has increased. And especially, you know, it could be seasonal, but it's the same big trucks and Jake brakes. And it's not being, I guess, monitored. Adjacent commercial land is planned for storage units. So what used to be Holmes Welding has been sold. All the trees have been torn down, built on the other structures. It's just bare ground now, and they're putting up storage units, which will bring in bright lights and security and Lord knows what else, I don't know. And that's right across from us. So that's another factor that we feel brings down the market value of our property. So in 2023, it was 350,000. 2026, we're at 472,000. We don't feel that it could be sold for $500,000. It's 1 acre, with a house. Be constructed today? I don't think so. We didn't build a $472,000 house back in 2015 because we knew we couldn't afford that. And so it doesn't make sense to us, I guess, that location with no other changes except downgrade of noise and everything else. I feel it's a disadvantage and it should not have increased in value that much. We can't sell, we need a place to live. So another aspect, we understand that Clay County implemented a countywide increase to non-ag land values and approved a $750,000 opt-out resolution. However, budget decisions cannot override statutory requirements. Assessments must reflect full and true market value, must account for property-specific characteristics. Uniform increases applied without accounting for the location burdens, we feel undermines the equalization, especially for properties like ours. Our requested action is that we respectfully request the board return our 2026 assessed value to 2023 level of $350,000, which more accurately reflects the true market value given the unchanged and in some cases worsened conditions surrounding us. I just want to point out too that in addition to the points I made, this increase is primarily due to the land assessment, non-ag land. It's a 48% increase. So it was 33,000 last year to 50,000. Since 2020, or sorry, 2022, that's 87% increase in the value of just the 1 acre of ag land that we built our house on. The house itself has only increased 45% in that time. So overall is what we're asking is to go back to a 2023 assessment. From 2023 to now, that's still a 35% increase that we've seen. So that is our request. Thank you for your comment. Yeah, you guys have, so yeah, I know you.
Do you have any questions for her before I jump into mine?
Go ahead and jump in. Emma.
Okay. So after reviewing their thing, I think one of the things I wanted to reiterate is that we do mass appraisal. So our burden is to look at neighborhoods and adjust those neighborhoods accordingly. Right now in our rural areas, the neighborhoods that we have adjusting differently are primarily river neighborhoods. And then we have like a different valuation system for rural subdivisions such as like Silers, Burbank, Meckling, Rolling Hills, some stuff like that. We don't currently have separate neighborhoods within our small acreages. A lot of that is due to volume of sales. Without market evidence, it's hard for us to adjust something outside or to make special exceptions if we don't have market evidence of that. So we don't have different valuations for houses or land specifically along our highway corridors because we haven't seen market evidence that those sell for less. Particularly thinking of some of the ones up on Highway 19 near the water plant and the sales they have had. You look at kind of like Ballard Court outside of town on the east side of town. And then for the most part along those highways, what we've had for market sales have been commercial. You're thinking the new Meckling, it's not an elevator, but you know what I'm talking about. Southeast Co-op, thank you. O'Connor Kiln, Mike Siner's place. Like these are people that are buying land along the highway corridors for commercial purposes. So again, we haven't seen a reduction in value. The thing that I am starting to notice with our sales is whether or not something is developed, whether or not it has access to water, electrical, that kind of thing. Again, 8 sales makes a market, so I don't have enough of that. But for example, we had a property on Highway 19 sell for 10,000 an acre at 9 acres. It was heavily wooded with no utilities. So that's kind of where you're starting to see reduction in land value, is if they're having to pay to bring the infrastructure in. So with that, we did complete our rural review in 2025, and after looking at all of, or 2024, I'm a year off, I apologize. In 2024 is when we completed looking at the building sites for rural review. We decided not to adjust the land significantly from 21 to 24 while we completed that. And then in 24, we had over 30 small acreages sell across that span of time that allowed us to set a new land value. After adjusting buildings, we got to a point where our market sales in the rural areas were still at 60%. Again, my burden is supposed to be at 85% or higher. So that is why we decided to increase land the way we did in 1 year, in one shot. Value doesn't just increase due to improvement or change. It also changes due to the market. So that's what I'm talking about here with location, is I don't have market evidence that your location is different. So if you flip through, I've got 2 beacon sheets that I printed out of kind of neighborhoods that have sold recently. The first one is that Rolling Hills subdivision. Most of these lots are less than 1 acre, and they have sold since 2024 for 62,500 and upwards. They are again close to the intersection of 19 and 50, maybe not as close as this property on Timber Road, but that's justification for the $50,000 per acre of a developed lot.
On a block.
Over.
And then on the next page,
Are they developed?
they
areas
were
with
not
sidewalk?
developed yet. There was no utilities to begin with. They were paid for 62.
But was it the ability to develop around them there? Okay, we don't have that.
And I hear you. I hear you.
Okay.
I'm gonna keep marching forward.
Alright.
You can see here at the corner of Timber Road and 460th, this is the road that goes to Clay County Park. It's right by the Clay County Highway Shop. We have a house on 1 acre. They purchased, it's 2 acres. It's the lot in the middle and the lot to the south of them. They paid $210,000 for this. It was a very small house. They allocated about 80,000 to land, so 40,000 an acre. And then to the north of them was a larger lot that in 24 sold for 156,000 with the structures on it. They came through and tore all of the buildings out and then sold it again for 200,000. So again, all your utilities are there and it's ready to go. So this is just kind of indicating why our land value went from 33,000 an acre to 50,000 an acre if it's land that has all the utilities on it.
We paid for the utilities to get on. I pay for that. The county don't help me at all. You don't supply the water, you don't supply the sewer, they take care of my food.
But
We can assess to the bubble. That's what we can do. This make believe world we live in.
We'll let you finish.
Bubble.
Go ahead. Let her finish.
Okay.
Okay, so the last page I have is I did some neighborhood and sale comparisons for you guys to look at when you make your decision. I've got the subject property with 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, a gas fireplace, and about 1,600 just over 1,600 square feet of finish in the basement. Coming in at 472, 499. I'm sorry. I had to give you this so you can look as well. And so that works out to be about 245.57 a square foot. They're asking to reduce to 192.31 a square foot, again, using above grade square footage. 2 neighborhood comps that I pulled. One of them is Todd and Tracy Halverson's on Timber Road. It's just right up the road from them, long driveway. They're maybe not as close to Timber Road, but that driveway takes them closer to Highway 50. And they're assessed at 235.97 a square foot. The other one with heavy traffic is, it used to be the Bernard's house on Princeton. It's that first one as you're getting to Siler's. So gravel road, amenities, lots of traffic going in and out of Siler's. It's one way in, one way out. And then there's a couple of in-home daycares out there, so they get a lot of extra traffic at, beginning and end of the day. This home was built in 2010. Similar amenities, except it has no basement finish. And their assessed per square foot was 228.06. I also pulled 3 sales. One of them's on Timber Road. House that's been was built in 1995, but has had remodeling. It sold in 25 for 650. In 2024, it actually sold for 605. So that right there is a $45,000 increase in the market over the course of 1 year.
I have a question for you, Linnea. So as I'm looking across on your comparables, looking at the lot sizes on some of these, I was looking for some with comparable lot sizes. So comp 2 is right around a 1 acre lot. And that land was valued at 35,000. And then scrolling over a couple, I'm seeing, we've got a 1 acre lot in comp 5. That one's about 35,000 or is 35,000. And then you've got, like a 6 acre lot in comp 4. And the land there is valued at about 87,000. So why? So talk a little bit about that, because this
Yep.
does appear to be a little bit higher valuation than what I'm seeing in some of those columns
Yep.
on the land.
So comp 2 and comp 5 are both in Siler's subdivision. As the south and the northeast part of it have sold, we've seen the lots sell for a lot value of 35,000 per lot. In the rural subdivision, they've got some extra, setback requirements and that kind of stuff.
Neighbors right up next
Because
to
they've got neighbors right there. So we did say that their first acre is 35,000 versus the first acre in the rural areas where most people have more than 1 acre is 50,000. Each additional is 7,500. So that's the difference you're seeing there. That's something where their property is unique in that they only have 1 acre for each house. When I'm not Noah, so I'm not claiming to know what he knows, but I do believe you're required to have 2 acres now. So you're not going to find very often where people are only purchasing 1 acre anymore.
In the joint jurisdiction, it can be 1 acre.
Oh, it can.
That's how they got the 1 acre. They had a 2 acre.
Got
We
it.
changed joint jurisdiction to 1 acre lots, so they were able to build the other house. 3 of them per foot section.
So we do have a
But you had to
neighbor.
have an acre.
We have 2 neighbors, actually, also. Yeah, and the 1 acre.
Okay.
So
thank you. Yep.
this is kind of the comp sheet I pulled together to help you. Where you want?
I would like to say that, you were going by square footage of the house, and it's more about the property value. So that has been the largest increase.
So what justifies a rural subdivision? Are we all rural?
Are you asking?
Just because there's a house after a house after a house makes it a rural subdivision. Well, maybe I got a rural subdivision. So I have
Do you-
2 houses.
Do you have covenants?
Yeah, I gotta scoop my sidewalk when it snows. I gotta let my dog out on a leash. Yeah, I might have one.
Okay.
But,
Yeah.
that's what we need to get to, yeah. That 35,000 number seems a lot better than 50,000 number to me. For a comparable house. And like you said, those $600,000 homes, that's a balloon that this world's made up of. It's not true. There was free money out there and people took it for granted. They bought them houses and they were the one sorry son of a gun.
Yeah, I would like to get back to, that we're looking at the location, right? The location is unique. It really depreciates the value. We could not sell that 1 lot for $500,000 with the house on it. There's a neighbor, there's the commercial property across the street. There's not a bluff view. There's no chance of having neighbors. It's not safe to go out and walk. Our kids can't ride their bikes into town.
As far as the neighbors, you want neighbors?
I have to have them in order to survive.
the reason I'm asking is there's a similar situation up on Beresford.
Yeah.
46. The people there, they didn't want any neighbors because they wanted their peace and quiet in the country. Well, they're only a mile away from Beresford. But yet they live there, but they don't want any more neighbors. So I'm wondering if you want,
We can't tear down the
Well,
house.
but you need to look at that subdivision. That's a family home, and I got a family home. Is that subdivision family home a little more desirable than what I'm sitting on for resale?
I would say it's
Because if you want a
less.
family, you want kids to play with, and your kids can be in the neighborhood, we're looking at resale values also.
I would say in Siler's subdivision in particularly, we've seen less desirability, particularly because their basements tend to take on water.
It's not
Um,
comparable
and-
as our property or
It's not
location at all. This is solely about location. And
They pull water out. of
we
it.
would like to be able to compare it to something in the area. If you don't have anything to compare it to, then,
Maybe it is a creature on its own.
I would say Todd and Tracy Halverson's is the most comparable. You're looking at the same quality and condition. You both have gas fireplace, you both have finish in the basement. Your square footage is different by
it's
three,
about the location,
3 square
not
feet.
the house, not the house.
2,500
the location.
Dan, I mean,
We are right on that intersection. We have constant noise, constant Jake breaks, middle of the night, all summer long with the gravel pit. It is not a quiet, nice neighborhood where we have, neighbors or, we don't have the flooding, but that doesn't really,
No,
have
I put
anything to
sandbags
do with
around the
it.
house if that counts for something. The last time it flooded. Yeah, I looked across the river and that thing was coming and it started backfeeding in the field behind me. Do we take a note of that?
So one place that my mind does go is that last year when we had our county meeting, we heard an appeal from one of your neighbors that was on the other side of 19. Was it Pratt? Was that that house was a lot more than $70,000, and that just to me speaks to
Bigger.
it is a lot bigger.
Has
It is a lot bigger.
neighbors,
Yeah.
and it's not
Yeah.
on the road.
And I think that the things that you've cited are certainly, so were I living in the same place, those things would bother me personally. But I think that they're weighed against the reality that there are other people in the market that are going to really highly value the proximity to town,
not
proximity to
proximity.
19, proximity to, so.
We're talking about our location.
Right, but no, at your location, so the same sorts of things that you've cited, the noise complaints that are with the proximity of the road, but also there is ease of access to a plowed county road that then connects into plowed state roads, and to some people, that's very, very valuable.
We still
The
cannot
trucks
get
into
out,
town and,
get out to that road without plowing our own driveway.
right, but you don't have a township gravel road before you get onto the main, so I'm just saying that
About their properties. We're talking about our acreage.
I'm
Where
talking
we're
about,
at.
yeah.
Acreage,
So
not our
that-
driveway, not how far it takes to get to a hard top. It's not about plowing the snow.
But for a lot of people, there's going to be different factors that they're going to value differently when they're looking for a house. And so some people are going to really value how close you are to town while you're still in the country. How close you are to 19. And so so I'm saying that's why we have to try to find actual example properties because that's where the market hopefully provides the information to us of what are those, what is that balance of values? Where does it work out? Because I mean, what you're expressing resonates with me. Those are concerns I would have. I'd be bugged by the Jake plates. I'd be bugged by, all the danger, the lack of a sidewalk. I wish that there was a nice, safer route for a pedestrian over there personally. I think it'd be great, but, but we have to try to find the information the market provides us, and then we have to base it on that. Yeah.
There are not.
Well, it sounds like,
Sounds like you guys should be making an executive decision based on what you do know, what you do have.
which is what
We do
Linnea
have
is
state
providing
codified
us,
laws too.
But how
We have laws
can
to
it
follow.
increased with no other changes? Even last year, 85%. That's a enormous jump.
And that was just on the land.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, and
And-
every rural small acreage in Clay County.
I'm not
that
talking about
increase.
them. I'm talking about our property where it's located.
And I think right now,
I'm not here fighting for everybody. I'm here fighting for
and
Andrew and John and.
Those factors that you're talking about, the railroad, the traffic, all those factors were in place before you built your house, your beautiful new home. They
Yes.
were all there.
Yes,
And that was your executive decision to do
it
that.
was, but the traffic has increased. The noise has increased.
Didn't have gravel pit next to me when I built. It's all they were.
There's a lot of houses that didn't have Highway 50 bypass, and Highway 50 wasn't built either.
Well, they were
I'm not
19.
Here arguing for those properties. We're
50 years from
arguing for
now,
our property.
You can say the
We
same
knew
thing.
what was there. We knew what would be there. We knew that no other houses could be built. That the commercial lot was across the way. You know, we knew exactly what was there and nothing was gonna change. But the traffic has increased substantially. And the only thing that's changed is what the land has been assessed at. Even the house without improvements. And that's what we're here to focus on.
Everyone sitting in this table, in this room, has gone up to.
So we need to get.
Again, this is not about anyone else.
But it is in a sense because it's called equalization. Yes.
But it's
So-
not equal.
but
If you don't have anything
We
to
can't,
compare our property to.
well, not the way you describe it. Because everybody's property is unique to them. When, correct? I mean, I can sit there and say my house,
The argument is we would not be able to sell for what the property is currently assessed.
Assessed.
I'm not gonna argue that.
No, because we
Thank
live
you.
above.
I'm not
I'm
arguing
not gonna say, I'm not gonna
I'm not-
say that I'm agreeing with you though either.
I
I have 2 building sites. And when I say building site, I mean trees and a dirt driveway. No water, no electricity. They're asking 285,000. For trees. They sold one by Beersford for 86,000, just by trees. So I mean. when you
But can we evaluate
Is it
to that?
on?
Can we evaluate to what this astronomical resale's gone at? Do we evaluate to that? What happens when that land value goes down?
Then it
So-
goes down.
Then it goes down. I am obligated by law. I cannot value.
So when the crunch comes, when this
Yep.
whole thing explodes. Does it should,
She is bound by state law.
Yeah.
To do that, whether the properties go up or the properties go down.
She has to be within so many percentage of the market value, or we will be penalized as a county.
They will,
Okay,
they
well,
will come in and do
one-
it for us.
One of the factors, one of the main factors is location.
I understand that.
Yeah.
And these properties I described, gravel roads.
I take it.
I don't know. I don't know.
But I
about
mean,
those
as Jeffrey
roads.
was saying,
I
it all
know
depends
about
on the
this.
person. I think it's
But
ridiculous.
not anyone else is here appealing. We're here appealing.
No, but we have to equalize the area.
I understand.
That's why she didn't take the building sites up by Beersford. I mean,
Yeah, and
something close to your location. Are we gonna find something exactly like you have? We can't do that with any property.
But it does say that you have to account for property specific
That-
characteristics.
that is not a state statute. We
But it
take
is
proper, we
considered.
take property specific characteristics when there's market evidence that those property specific characteristics are causing a change in the market value from your neighbors.
Like if you live along the river.
So that's why the river acres, their acres are like 200,000 per acre at the river.
We didn't build on the river.
Right, and we're not,
Where we built because we knew we could afford it.
and we're not
we
valuing
knew
it
what
that way.
cost at the time.
But that's why we're saying that not every building acre
Mhm.
is 200,000
Yeah.
because of location.
Because of location, yes. But, you know, again, I just wanna say that, it's about the traffic, the noise, the industrial surroundings. And it's just lowered the desirability for house in that location. It's our request that that be considered. And that, especially the property itself is going up, the land, non-ag value going up substantially, is a hard hit. And, we just don't feel that we could sell the house for that amount.
Can I ask a question? You don't have to answer this question. Do you happen to know what your home is insured for?
The assessment value or
Because insurance
Cause
is,
they got you right where they want you.
no.
the,
But insurance was usually replacement cost new. We do replacement cost new less depreciation. So if you know off the top of your head what it's insured for,
no,
I just re
No.
I just changed the value of the insurance. Cause I said, does the bank take that? Nope. Do you think you gotta insure it for what you think you gotta insure it for? You better insure it for what you want.
it's not like we've had it appraised. Sorry.
no, and that's fine. But like, for example, I'm just gonna use my house. It's public information anyway. So my property, we purchased it in 2018 for 120,000. It's 800 square feet, unfinished basement. And then we had it insured, and I believe our insurance is up over 200,000 now, and it's assessed for 170. So our property has appreciated that 35 to 40% as well due to the market. So that's why
The items you have inside the house.
I'm not sure.
That
I don't
would
know,
be pretty hard to
but
prepare.
remember that's replacement cost new, right? If it were to burn down to the ground today, I know at one point it was insured for like 210. So let's say 210 is less personal property, right? So that's replacement cost new of my home. I know it's going to be less than that. So like the reason I'm asking this is, and again, you don't have to answer if you don't want to. This is a public meeting, but if we have it assessed less than you have it insured for, is kind of what I'm.
No one would do that in their right mind.
Okay.
You're talking about common sense. And that's common sense. You wouldn't, why would I insure for less than I owe on it? That, you know, that's.
We're
what-
insuring for what we owe.
You know, above.
Well,
Yes.
above, but at a minimum.
And mine's insured for less than it's. So.
Yeah.
I go back to this traffic. And I share your pain with this traffic. You know where I live, this, down at the High Lines. No offense to this guy, but the traffic for that development down there has exploded. I see a lot of one county plates going back and forth.
Driving fast, speeding.
Exactly. One person in particular, and we know who that is, and I don't wanna mention any names.
Speed by our house.
So,
And we had a bus stop right there.
yeah,
Our kids had to get on the bus. It was
Right.
dangerous.
so I know the gravel pit's an issue, but think of the truck traffic for grain. And hay. That's,
And we built in the country for kind of sort of country for quiet, but you know, that didn't happen.
Yep.
But I didn't build to get hammered on my taxes either. This appraisal of this 1 acre lot at 50,000. Like I said, what's this Creighton Avenue at 35,000? Why are they? Is there, yeah.
Because we've had lot sales at 35,000 in that for the within the last year.
Well, we haven't had any lot sales to talk about other than Bluff View ones to compare me to.
I was looking at the ones on Timber Road where they had, I apologize, I didn't look up how many acres that one was.
In that
But
second little home that sold for 200 and cleared the trees. I know all about it. Yeah, just because they can. That's why they do that. But like I said, we can't appraise or assess it's that normal number that it's a make believe number. We know it's all there. And I know you guys are just trying to do your job, but
but if it's a state law and something sold for that amount, we have to go by that.
No, that's called shooting sales. That would be not equalization. That's what California does with Proposition 13 is where if it sells, you set it at that value. We do not do
Okay.
that practice because what that does is it leaves those that don't sell in the dust. So that's why everything gets increased when the market increases. Everything. I would say Todd and Tracy Halverson. I know they're 2 acres. I know it's a long driveway, but they get the same noise from Highway 50 on the backside of their house. Same quality condition. And they're all in there at 511. So there's about a $30,000 difference. And a lot of that can be attributed to plumbing, which is usually about $1,000 per fixture. So you've got, you know, 5,000 to 7,000 for an extra bathroom. And then you have the rest of it is in that extra acre. And most of their extra acre is their driveway. They have a long shared driveway with an easement for their neighbors to access. I'd say theirs is the most comparable.
In property, but not in location.
If you want, I mean, did you guys hear what the one across the street sold? Again, I don't want to compare you to that necessarily. It's 1.07 acres and it sold for 80,000.
Where's this?
Right across the road, Midwest Magnetic,
Mm-mm.
the one where they tore all the trees and buildings down,
Oh,
literally across the road from you. It sold for
That's
80,000.
commercial.
Exactly.
Not comparable.
So 80,000 for 1 acre.
And-
Fictitious number. I know
Yeah.
that's-
And he knows, everyone knows that was overpriced.
I don't
There's a
get that
reason why we
information.
there's a reason why we didn't purchase it.
I mean, anyone could come. I get what you record with the register of deeds and you fill out with your title company. My burden is to make sure it's an arm's length transaction. There's no coercion. It's, on the sale on the open market for a reasonable amount of time. If people tell me yes to all of that, then I take it as a market sale. If there's a bunch of hidden information in sales, I'm not getting that. I'd love if people filled out verification for me.
Do you consider that one Paul Roberts' old house a comparable?
Which one is?
Me?
Yeah,
That's why I went for 600, whatever thousand, just. Yeah. 504.
That'd have been where the Mark Brothers are,
Yeah.
had it, okay.
Again, I wanna say we built the house for $240,000. We've only added, one, it was a free garage that we picked up in town, hauled it out there, set it down, and, nothing has changed with the property. So to have gone up that much, I understand, what you guys are saying, I understand, we understand. But that is a massive increase, and we're not confident that we could ever sell the house for that amount. I know that people have said, well, it's an asset here, but you know what, with what we're paying mortgage interest and taxes now, there's gonna be. It's gonna
Assets
be a
can
lot.
cost you money.
Yeah.
They're supposed to make you money.
And we need a place to live, so this is where we are. Houses aren't easy to find. Especially around here. Reasonably priced housing.
The housing market, they're dropping,
Mm-hmm.
they haven't come down $10,000 off, $1,000 off, they're not selling. People don't have that. But just take in consideration. I guess just.
So I guess my final question is, if you don't have anything to compare it to.
So
How can we proceed? Is there
I
any?
have one more comparable that I thought of in Union County. I'm not texting. I'm looking up Union County Beacon. I apologize for being on my phone.
you don't think I could find a farmer around anywhere that wanna separate 2 acres that I could buy it for $40,000, you don't think? And build a house in the middle of a flat field?
I wouldn't sell you 2 acres for 40,000.
We had one.
Not and break up my field.
Not break it.
We had one
But if
maybe.
you had a little pot.
We had one about
No.
up on 306th Street. So how far would that be? 306th, closer to the interstate. 5 acres. Used to be Berkland's, Floyd Berkland's. It was 5 acres. It sold for 180,000 with water and electrical on it. So what does that work out to an acre? 20 plus.
27.5.
Yeah, 27.5 probably an acre. But again, we're allocating more value to where the utilities are, because when you have an undeveloped lot, then you're seeing 10,000 an acre for the whole thing.
5 of the acres are paying water.
Right. I've got one that's just off of, it's on the county line, but it's on the Union County side, right off of Burbank Road. So you get kind of that Vermillion to Elk Point traffic. It's valued at 411,675 for the house, 1,700 square feet on the main, built, again, Union County Beacon, built in 1996, so a little bit older, has a fireplace, and it sold in 2024 for $655,000. If you want to look up the address and see if it's still on Zillow, that's 32118 470th Avenue. I don't know if it's still listed or not. And that is,
Safe to sleep.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Looking at the sheet in front of me, it's comparable.
and then that is, where is their?
There's about, like, as I said, 1,500 to 2,000 vehicles going in every which way at that intersection. DOT just did a count on it in 2025. At the beginning of 2025, it's just continually increased. We've got a lot of traffic that comes from Nebraska, that comes straight up Highway 19. We have a lot of traffic that comes down Timber Road, and they're coming to a stop sign, and they're speeding, and they're there's the grain trucks, as you mentioned, the semis. It's just, it's constant. And so those are the factors, I guess, we'd like you to consider. Yeah,
That much one is 655,
What's that?
655 on Zillow.
Yeah.
But it's not sold.
No,
No,
that's
it's
what it's sold for.
In 24, right? I believe
Yeah.
that was a 24 sale.
Lover's house.
Yes.
Oh, well. That's not
5
really
acres.
comparable.
To. It's dead, it's. Whose house was it? Glover's. She's the, yeah, they sold one. His kids couldn't afford to buy it. His kid's a farmer, so they can't afford it. He sell something else, so they took the 600,000. So there we go, That shows how big blood is.
I know everyone else has been hit by this too, but this is just our plea for our property, our 1 acre. And so thank you for having us today. Do you have any other questions?
I'm gonna have to get it put in as a subdivision.
Sorry, we're both very frustrated. He's actually been the one talking me down off the cliff, so.
Taxes are high throughout the nation. We're seeing it everywhere. And like I said at our one meeting, we have to control our spending. That's not free money.
We're not Sioux Falls.
Money comes from somewhere. So we think we need it. We gotta think about it pretty hard. That's what you guys are here to do. You're to take care of taxpayers. We're trusting Indians.
Real penny pinchers up here saying that. Yeah.
Well, we need to pinch them. We need to look at what we're buying.
No,
We need to look where it goes.
no,
And we need to do more with less.
no. We got a diversity of opinions up here too, which I think is helpful because each of us, we value some different things for the county. So, there's some stuff that I, really kind of ride everybody on where I think it's a little overspending and the other
I
commissioners.
crawl underneath my car, change
Perspective
my
on
oil, I do my own plumbing. You know why? Cause I can. I save money. We got people that are able to do that stuff within your businesses, little businesses that should be ran as. That can do more than what they're expected of. You gotta be accountable for what. That's all we gotta say, I guess.
Well, but before they leave, do you guys have, what would you like to do? It's up to you guys what happens to the value. You get to decide either today or the next meeting.
We would really appreciate you taking time to go out there, look, visit the site, just look, see I think you're all pretty familiar with it.
We're some of the traffic you guys are.
Yeah. So, I guess my other question, well, I'll let you guys talk.
Yeah. Do you want to table it? Do you want to come to a decision of value?
Well, my concern is that we stay within the guidelines, I guess, what we can and can't do, because I don't, we can't get in trouble with the state.
That's more so me.
Yeah, we can't be outside of the laws that you're given to stand by.
Personally, I believe anything less than 400,000 is too low for just the house. That's where I'm at. Based on the comparables I've pulled. very bottom, I have your median assessments per square foot and the median sales per square foot. Median sales are at 288.87 a square foot. I have them assessed at 245.57 a square foot, so I'm, $43 less than what's selling. My median sale ratio is 87.9, which I told you this morning, that's my median across the county right now, so.
Someone look at their
400,000.
affordable houses are
Where, what,
also newer than.
can you tell me what percentage that would put us at?
If we,
So right now it's.
what I did is I used Todd and
I know,
Tracy's.
talking about the percentage of.
I used Todd and Tracy's square footage on Rich and Andrea's square footage, and it puts them at 404,925. If we just use what I would consider the most comparable neighbors, Todd and Tracy.
How would you guys feel about that? I know you're not gonna feel good about it, but that is a little bit of a reduction at least.
She's saying just the house.
That's right. So the house at 404 instead of 421.
Ted. Talk about you.
It's,
Are we within that 85%?
No,
Above that
it depends on what they'd sell it for. They said that they wish it was assessed at 350, but if you were to sell it today and put it on the market, what would you sell it for?
in 2024, it was assessed at 371.
Like, what do you believe is the market value of your home?
I believe the assessed value of the property, everything would be no more than the 2024 value at 406,987, including the property, including the land. We know what we built that house for with. We know what's in it. It's not bells and whistles. It's nothing special.
Laminate floors, plastic flooring, no stone fireplace. It's 2x4s.
Yes, it's a beautiful house on the outside.
And I dug the hole and I tarred the basement.
That's
where you saved- that's where
you saved your money, because you did the work.
Well, that's just it. I didn't want to give it away.
Yeah.
We worked hard for a reason.
Yeah,
Before
I
you,
generaled it myself.
but before you agree to anything, just so you understand that you can appeal our decision. Further, correct?
To the state with a lawyer.
You don't
You
need a
don't
while.
hire.
You don't have it
They're,
owned in
they were an
your
LLC, that's why.
Oh.
Correct me. You would do it yourself. You have to go to peer,
Here.
or can you zoom in? I just want you to know all
That's
the,
good thinking, Trent.
I just want you to know everything that you can do, but because I think if you agree to a number with us, I don't think you can appeal it any farther. So I just want you to know there is one more step if,
And at this point, nothing will happen with the value of the land. Is that correct? The non-agricultural 1 acre will always be $50,000.
that is my standard across the county. I am not willing to change it. If the board decides otherwise, that's up to them.
Is there any possibility in the future of a number going down? I know that sounds ridiculous.
Well, yes. Yes, if the market goes down, where we're, if we're not within the with what the value of the market and not in compliance with the state, we have to be in compliance with market values. So if the market values go down and we're not in compliance with the state, then yes, it's definitely gonna go down. So.
Just because you guys are, know the system and you're an educated group, if we took this farther, would the argument of location and the fact that there's not many comparables to our house or location, would that go anywhere with the state?
So I'll speak to that. I don't
Wait.
know. So ultimately how the process goes is if you want to appeal this board's decision, you appeal it through OHE, Office of Hearing Examiners. My office and Linnea would travel to Pier and would act on behalf of the county in support of this board's decision. And then you would be tasked then with either yourself or with an attorney, providing evidence and what you believe would be pertinent. And then OAG ultimately makes that decision. That is they sit as a judge in that position. And then they ultimately make the decision. You can appeal it beyond that. And every once in a while, something goes all the way from OAG back to a circuit court, all the way up to the South Dakota Supreme Court. So, it's so layered and, I don't think it'd be fair for anybody here to give you an opinion on what the outcome would be.
Yeah, I can't give you a fact. I can give you my opinion on what I've seen. We have lost twice. It's on commercial property. So the state did override our rule and lowered it to that property.
And those were the low income housing or no?
No, that was just undeveloped
Oh, yeah.
strip malls.
Twice out of how many?
That information
Those,
would be
the
in my
losses, is
office.
what sticks out for me. Those are the ones I remember.
Travis is
How many did we do? How many did we have last? The one person didn't show.
We didn't have any
Well,
peer last
appeals,
year.
we didn't
Appeals
have
is big.
anything in peer. So since I've been here in the office, we had one go to peer. It was a ag land appeal. And we won by default because they sent no materials and then did not show up to the appeal hearing. Yeah, I have them all in binders on my shelf. Have I read them? No.
So,
If,
so to say that we never get overruled, I can't say that because it has happened.
So I'm gonna make a motion that we offer. Reduce the house to $400,000, the land stays the same. That's my motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you.
thank you so much.
You guys want to stop and have this? She can put out the owner appeal guide for you guys that walks you through what we discussed with you over And then you guys got my.
Yeah. Take 5-minute recess.
Second that.
That's something we need on the next agenda too. That half cent sales tax. So Nicole, if you can remember to put that on our next agenda meeting,
Oh, what? I'm sorry.
half cent sales tax.
That doesn't go into effect until July 1st, so I don't know if you can make a motion on anything until it's law, but.
We can have it put in place, or we can start on it.
Talk about it.
As long as it doesn't.
I had an,
Just a reminder, we still have a quorum. Oh, sorry, 3 of us.
oh, it's Michael.
Wow. I know.
Still no. Oh, wait, Dawn, because wait, Dawn.
So.
Sometimes.
The meetings go faster when he's not here.
I know. I know.
You won't take it now.
Think of all we could get done.
Heck, and then some.
Oh,
Yep, just keep going.
All the lawsuits we have.
It has those. It's okay.
Okay.
There's just they says.
Okay.
You can mute it. There. And I'll just click on it.
All right. Wade, can you hear us?
Yes, Wade.
I have to take you on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yep, now we can.
Okay. Hello.
If you want to go first, go for it. I included your letter of appeal and I didn't include, and your cost table is what I included.
How about the appraisal?
I did you want them to have copies of that?
Sure.
Okay.
How old's the appraisal?
It's like 20 pages long.
How old?
July of 25.
Okay.
What I didn't include a copy of the appraisal, but I did include a sheet that has all of their comps. I was gonna have that printed.
So this is the appraiser's comps list.
Yes.
Gotcha. The first one you come to is your footnote.
Did you include the conclusion?
Yes, that was the thing on the back side of your appeal letter, correct?
Yes.
Yep, I have that. Those get tricky because you have to consider intended user. I'm not able to give those out, but you as the intended user could. Yeah. All right. So whenever you're ready, Wade.
Okay. Pretty straightforward. I'm appraising my assessed value, and I had it, as you can see or understand, I had it appraised last summer, and then I recently sent a cost estimation that is calculated through Marshall Swift. In addition, the difference between the appraised value and Marshall Swift is Marshall Swift, or Core Logic as it appears. Marshall Swift does not consider land value, whereas appraised value also includes land value. And as a disclaimer, I'm a licensed appraiser, but I don't do residential, and I do commercial and ag property. However, sometimes I do residential as it relates to rural agricultural, because some of the ag properties have agricultural property as part of it. Or I mean, I'm sorry, has residential property as part of it. But on the other hand, is obviously I may come across as biased, which I probably am. So that's why I hired an appraisal done on my house. I am not appraising the land value, or I'm sorry, I'm not appealing the land value, but rather just the house. And I think the land value is probably the difference between the cost estimation and the appraisal.
So we're assessing his house at 775, correct?
Yes.
And his appraisal's at 650,000
Yes.
even?
Yes. So
Just one question.
go ahead.
Wade, since you're in the business, doesn't an even number seem odd?
No, not at all. We round all the time. Sometimes in between, it depends on the appraiser. Residential appraiser is the one that did this report. Come in usually between $1,000 and $2,000 as they round to the nearest number.
Okay.
It's the idea that is you'll never get to the exact number, if you will.
No, I was just, like I said, I just never had seen it on the appraisals I'd had done.
I round as well.
Okay.
And again, it's usually I round, depends on the property. If it's a large commercial, like I just got done with one for 13 million, and I rounded to the 10,000s, or within $10,000.
You have anything else you want to add? Before I let Lynette go?
Yeah, I don't have anything specific. That's why I did the appraisal. I like to do as much factual as I can versus how I feel about it. And so, no, not too much.
Okay. Lynette?
Did you guys want to take a moment to read the appraisal conclusion? Or are you good?
That's the back page of the
That's-
first page in here, right?
Yes.
And you can share, I'm perfectly fine with you sharing that appraisal.
Do you want to ask Anna to print them quick? You're in the appeal folder.
I will add that on the cost approach, I tried to be somewhat conservative when I was inputting the various qualities and the numerical values. So, so one of the things that's somewhat subjective when you're entering the cost approach into Marshall and Swift or CoreLogic is that it's the condition. So I entered the quality as good, and essentially the condition is average for good. It's the average condition for a good quality property. So I try not to skew it too low on that. And I think it's fairly reflective of what the appraisal report said as well.
So I had a couple questions on the cost that we might as well just jump over to that. So if you're
Sure.
looking at the CoreLogic Swift estimator for everyone, the first thing I did, of course, was take it to our Marshall and Swift, which commission, if you flip to the next page, I have what he presented us compared to mine, which brings up the value that we assessed him at this year. One of the main things that I was curious about was the basement finish. Yours doesn't happen to have a breakdown of finished area in the basement. It allocates $26 a square foot for basement area, which we're using a 2012 Marshall and Swift in our ProVal and then market adjusting afterwards. So our unfinished basement cost is $21.83 a square foot. So that's kind of when I see the basement area being $26.81 a square foot, to me, that's an unfinished basement using 2026 numbers. So I wasn't sure where basement finish was being valued on the one that you provided us. And just for reference, this home, I did struggle a little bit to find comps for. On the main floor, there's 3,152 square feet. And then the basement is an additional 3,056 square feet with 2,780 square feet of finish. So all in, there is 5,932 square feet of finished living area in the home, which is quite a bit larger than a lot of what we have here in Clay County.
Okay, what specifically is the question?
My question is on your Marshall and Swift, where does it show finished basement value?
Okay, and do you have an online version that I have here? Or do you
No.
run that?
What we do is we have a computer assisted mass appraisal. It's called ProVal. It's a subsidiary of Aumentum Technologies. And ProVal, we pay, it's like a pass-through payment to ProVal that pays for Marshall and Swift usage, and then it pulls back into our software. Because we don't individually appraise properties every year, we do mass appraisal, so we just let that do the adjustments for us. And like I was saying, we haven't updated our cost table in a while. And so what we're using is a third quarter 2012. And then from there, we market adjust to, based on the sales that we're seeing, we do our sales ratio analysis and determine which neighborhoods need further adjustment.
Okay, and so how Marshall and Swift presents, I have the software for it, and I do the online version for Marshall and Swift. And so how it presents is that you give it the primary emphasis is on that first floor, that 3,152 square feet. And then it prompts you to say, do you have a finished basement? Which I do. And I input this finished basement, the total basement area in at 3,056 square feet. It presumes there's a I do know there's a carryover from that base cost because you enter it in as a house plus basement. So it already has a unfinished basement cost calculated within the base cost.
Okay.
And then and then it asks for finished square feet. And if that is the same quality, finished square feet in the basement as the rest of the house or the first floor,
Yeah.
which is what I indicate. Now, I can't tell you exactly how that breaks it down, but that's how I input the values, and I know they allocate a certain amount to the basement before I get to even enter any finished square feet of the basement or the quality of the basement.
I haven't gone through this entire report yet, but I am seeing looks like there's a page that's titled Residential Appraisal Report at the top. Running on the sides, you've got subject, assignment, market area description, site description, description of the improvements. On the description of the improvement section, basement is listed with an area of 3,056 square feet, and it's listed as 95% finished. And then they go on to say ceiling drywall, walls drywall, floor, car tile, outside entry walkout. So it does look like that.
That's different than the cost. That is the market appraisal that was done by a fee appraiser.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you.
This is the one that he ran in Marshall and Swift with a second quarter.
This is the one that is represented in the first, the back page. That's what this is associated with, not with the Swift one. Thank you. Appreciate the clarification.
Yep. The other question I had for you, Wade, is if you could explain, there's something on here that says appliance allowance 1. And when I don't know if I mentioned this to the board, but Melissa, was it you that went with me? Yeah. We went and walked through the home in September because he got the appraisal back and then he asked us to come do a home visit. At that point, we did reduce the property by about 25,000 from last year's value. And I think a lot of that was in the depreciation side of things. But when we walked through, you have a fireplace in the basement and then you have a double-sided fireplace on the main floor. And that's another thing I'm not seeing on the cost table.
Yeah, and that was not one of the selections because that's built into, I believe that's an itemized deduct thing that they don't let me select.
Okay. And then
but it does somewhat reflect into the quality adjustment.
Okay. And then the final question I had for you on your cost was related to, if I can remember, plumbing fixtures, how you count those. Was there a base amount of plumbing fixtures that you didn't? Because you listed 15 plumbing fixtures. After our walkthrough, we counted that you have 20 total. That includes your kitchen sink and water heater. So you take that away, you would have 18.
Okay. Yeah, I went through and it just counted quickly in my head, I guess. I was doing bathrooms, utility room, the kitchen. What else? The kitchenette in the basement.
Mm-hmm. And then the 17% physical and functional depreciation, is that just based on the home or what did you allocate for functional? Because that would be, again, not entirely opinion based, but a little bit subjective to the appraiser.
Actually, it's not. What I did, I selected, so if I did a straight line depreciation on it, it would come out about 33% or about 30%, which would have been higher than the 17% there. What I did is I just, to try to reduce or eliminate any bias, so to speak, I took the Marshall Swift, if I wanted to take their recommended depreciation suggestion. So I didn't allocate any functional depreciation to it whatsoever.
Perfect. Yes, no, I agree with you. Physical is not subjective. That's pretty straightforward. Our table for depreciation based on the condition of the home, if it was a good quality home, would be 5%. If it's average quality, would be 10%. We decided to allocate 5% after our walkthrough.
Because the Marshall Swift will cue you in terms of whether or not it, I think because that's not a linear function right there at 17%. Again, if it was linear, it'd be a straight line depreciation, it'd be more like 30%.
Right.
Again, it takes into account that normal maintenance has taken place, and I'm sure that's how they've allocated the 17%, which again is less than the straight line methodology.
Yeah.
So the bottom line is I didn't pick the 17%.
Okay, I wanted to make sure, I was wondering if you were allocating functional. That's fine. Thank you.
I don't know what the base formula is for that, but I've never seen in the rural acreages that I've appraised, I almost never give any functional, unless it's a extremely old house, but the market does not create any what they call functional obsolescence or economic obsolescence. And the market rarely assigns any functional or economic obsolescence to rural acreage or rural houses, I should say.
Kind of what we were talking about in the last one, where market evidence, where is the market evidence for it? Functional obsolescence is inherent to the property, so it's something within it that makes it less than desirable. And then economic obsolescence is something that's, you can't correct it. It's happening outside of your property, and this economic obsolescence is causing it to be less than comparable market value. So, lesson on obsolescence for you guys. Okay, so kind of moving forward with my comps, I pulled some sales comps for you guys again too. This is the page after the cost comparison. From the appraiser's comps, there were a few that I would not consider comparable, like comp one from the appraiser, which I don't know that they put much weight in anyway, was a 2-story farmhouse that was moved on a new foundation, was put on crawl space, detached garage. And then comp 5 was also one that I questioned location wise. It's actually in Yankton city limits. But then moving to my comps, I did keep my comp 3 and 4 came from the appraiser. I agreed with those. I also pulled in a couple more properties on gravel roads, just because that's something that's kind of a little more comparable. So comp 5 is out on East Main, kind of a rural subdivision, but it's Bluffview. Again, on the main floor, we're only looking at 1,666 square feet, and then fully finished basement, so all in at 3,300 square feet, whereas the subject property is at 5,932. And then comp number 6 on Norway Street is a good, that one's a little closer, west side of town, gravel roads. And that one all in is only at 2,600 square feet. So I did kind of organize my comparables from most square footage to least square footage. And looking at the valuations on those, my median assessment was 231.62. Again, these are smaller homes, but my median sales ranging from May of 2024 to July of 25. My median sale price was 259.08, and I currently have this subject property assessed at 245.94 per square foot, which I feel is in line with the sales. If you go to the next page after that, I did some neighborhood comparisons. These are not homes that have sold, but they are all within 5 miles of the subject property with similar amenities. The first one is Webb Ranch's house, which is like 1.5 miles north of, maybe not quite 1.5 miles north. And that property is 4,055 square feet all in, including the basement finish. Has quite a bit of outbuildings, but is also on ag land. The house itself, assessed at above grade square footage, is assessed at 279.37. The next one I pulled was Jory and Elizabeth Freeberg. You go just up the road a little further and then a long gravel driveway. similar quality on the last one and this one. Freeburg is a better condition, but older home. All in, the square footage is 3,476, and our assessment per square foot is 278.55. Comp number 3 is Tom and Michelle McCabe's house. This one is much better quality, which is reflected in its price per square foot of $321.20. And then the last one that I pulled is a comparables at the end of Hillcrest Drive, so rural subdivision a little bit, but this is on the same similar quality, built in 2001. All in, the square footage is 3,456. And their assessment per square foot is the one that's lower, and it's 235.76. So with the requested, Wade, can you clarify, are you asking that they reduce the value of the home to 650, or are you asking that the home be reduced to 587?
I'll take a reduction. How's that? Let me back up a little bit to what your comments were on you were mentioning, you were doing comparables with other assessed properties that hadn't sold. I would make an argument that this is market value, not comparable to assessed value. I think market value trumps assessed comparables. And as far as my ask, obviously the reason I appealed it was I thought it was the assessed value was too high. The cost approach assumes no land, which was how the assessment is broken out or delineated. So I would argue that it's cost, but I would be content with the 650.
And at that last page of comps, at 650, the home would be assessed at 159.12 per square foot. Let me just double check that I did that math correctly.
Part of also I don't know what your comps that you looked at, I don't have those, but part of, maybe to give you an idea of maybe the differential is that, and this is without, again, I did not do the appraisal just to try to remove myself from it. But I would suggest that the way I essentially designed the house, and one of the couple things were to keep costs down on my particular house because I don't want to pay more than I had to, and I had it built. So one of two particular factors is basement square footage. Finished basement square footage is kind of like a bonus. You already got the foundation, you got everything down there, and it's a whole lot cheaper to add square footage there than anywhere else. So that's why I finished as much of the basement as I could. The second part of it is the house is a big square box, basically. There's not a lot of, I put some gables on it for some aesthetics, but the house is a box. And if you look at the appraisal, you can see the drawings of it. So everything's inexpensive when you create a box. All your trusses, you don't have to do a lot with your trusses or anything else. So that was part of the reason that that it's designed the way it was, to maximize square footage and minimize costs. So I don't know what the comparables that she's talking about specifically, but I would be willing to guess that you have a lot more finished square feet on the main than they do in the basement as a proportional amount.
I did do the math wrong on that. With the 650 on the house, the assessed per square foot would be 206 and 22 cents. I was like, that number's not right.
So 206.
Yeah.
So all of these are just calculated on the
above grade. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So Wade, what do you
Yeah.
think the market value of your house is?
$650,000.
Well, and that's my question. Isn't an appraisal that's less than a year old, isn't that what we have to take?
Yes, and it's less than a year old.
Right.
I don't know that there's state statute that you have to take it. I haven't heard that.
It was always my
Michael?
understanding.
I mean, there's definitely weight in it.
I think there's weight in it for sure. Whether or not there's any codified law or case law that mandates it, I'm unaware of. Now, I think with a greater question is whether or not that appraisal constitutes actual value. And if it constitutes actual value, that's the taxation number you're permitted to tax at.
Well, and that's why I use now. Could you find some other number? All right, I'm putting on another hat, so
Mhm.
take it for what it's worth. It's market evidence. The appraisal is accumulates or a compilation of market evidence at that moment in time, and using. Now she only uses the sales approach. The appraiser only uses the sales approach. That's why I decided to add the cost approach. So you have 2 points of market evidence for the value of the house. I would suggest, given the fact that there's land, the difference between the appraisal was included a certain amount of land. The cost approach did not. I would say if you were to add the land, 5 acres into that, they would be very close. I would suggest as an appraiser, those would be pretty strong, 2 strong indicators of market evidence as far as the or market value for that property. Now, is it 100% conclusive? No, it isn't. On the other hand, is like what I do in my appraisals, and when I testify, I go to court a fair amount, and how I explain it usually is that is the appraisal value, is that could it sell for more than that? Yes. Could it sell for less than that? Yes. The highest probability of future sale price or current sale price is that 650. If you were to look at a statistical representation under a normal distribution, the highest probability would be 650. Now, again, could it sell for more? Yeah, sure. Could it sell for less? Yes. The market isn't perfect. Just depends on buyers and sellers at the moment.
And this appraisal is only good for a year. So I mean, if you went with the appraisal price, when you go to redo it again next year, Linnea is going to put it back where she believes it should be. So I mean,
Yeah, I mean, to me, what I was working through was this. I mean, and it's not really. This isn't an exact. This doesn't flow great, but I think that there's some significance here. It's that Roberts County case, PALLANSCH versus Roberts County. It's an opinion of the South Dakota Supreme Court from September of 2025. Actually was analogous with Greg Peters's land. It actually specifically was the question. But what the Supreme Court works through eventually in this opinion is it cites back to the Article 11, Section 2 of the Constitution, which says that property cannot be, well, actually, how does it read? It says, gross earnings and net income. Well, this has to do with net income, but what it says is taxation purposes shall never exceed the actual value thereof. Property for taxation purposes shall never exceed the actual value thereof. So I think the larger question in this Roberts County case, which was Ag Land and WRP, but they had 2 brokers give opinions on land. And the question there was whether or not those brokers' opinions, which is not an appraisal, totally different, but the brokers' opinions, whether or not that constituted the actual value. They never give an answer. In fact, they just kind of sidestep it and send it back to circuit court and OHE. So we don't really get an answer, but what we can take from this is that we know that we cannot tax beyond actual value. I think the question for this board then, in my opinion, would be whether or not this appraisal constitutes actual value, or if the reasons why Linnea is here discussing can justify a higher number than that 650 as its actual value.
well, So can we get that question answered before the next meeting?
What,
You should be able to call somebody and they should have the answer of, this person brought us an appraisal. Is that
do we,
gospel for the year or not?
My quick review is no. We can certainly table it if Wade's comfortable with that and let a little research occur. I think the answer is no. As I don't think that is concrete evidence of, I believe that the analysis can be more complicated and often will be more complicated. That just because an appraisal number says this is what the value is, I don't believe that in and of itself equates to actual value necessarily. But whether or not that's in practice, whether or not that's reality, I think we could look that up or at least reach out to see if that's how.
Somebody has to be able to answer that because
that would also, I can certainly research that. I'm happy to research that. That would also give you guys time to actually read his appraisal. Like I said, when it comes to appraisal reports, it's tricky because I'm not the intended user. I can't give it out. I wasn't sure if he wanted you to have the full appraisal or just the summary. That would give you guys time to read it as well.
but somebody should be able to ask. I mean, this
Mhm.
issue's had to have come before OAG before.
Yeah.
Of, here's the appraisal I had done. It's less than a year old. Is this the one they have to use?
Yeah. And
Can I,
his burden of proof today is to prove that I am assessing in excess of market. My burden of proof today is showing that I have done mass appraisal appropriately. I am not a fee appraiser. I don't look at individual homes every year. When we went and walked through, we still trusted our system, right? We're correcting plumbing fixtures, square footage, that kind of thing. I did not go out and do a comp search and adjust them like a fee appraiser would. That is not. And in that process, we did end up reducing his value already, which is why I'm sticking to my 775 and showing that his neighbors are fair. That's my job. Your job as a board is to sit here and decide which one that you agree is the market value, or if it's somewhere in between. And if you want more time to do that, we can do that.
I would like my question answered because I've always been under the understanding that if somebody has an appraisal, that's the number you have to use. And most of the public believes that too.
And no, my question is, maybe it's obvious and I'm just not following it here, but this is appraisal for the house.
Yes. And it
market value.
assumed 5 acres of land, I believe.
And what?
It assumed that 650 assumed 5 acres of land
It assumes 5 acres of land.
as a non-agricultural.
But if you go onto the subject on this here.
Yeah.
She has it on here, it's at 775 house only.
Mhm.
So the 650 and the 775 they're both
Land.
comparing the same.
The land is 148.
Yeah, the land is 71 acres.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah, so but the house that we have it as is 775.
Yep.
His appraisal saying 650.
650. Yeah.
So those two
Get
are
that.
apples to apples.
Yeah, but I was just wondering if that 650 included any land.
Oh, no.
Well, it's
I
saying
would
5 acres.
He said.
can I help out?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so the appraiser, how they do it is so that the county, I had requested the appraiser to just give me a value on the house. However, their software and how they do comparables, all the comparables have a certain amount of land to it. It's like an acreage. So I told the appraiser, go ahead and allocate 5 acres to the house so that she could more adequately compare my house to those comparables. Arguably the house, and that's what I was trying to suggest with the why the difference between the cost approach and the appraisal is that the difference is that the cost approach has no land in it. But we assumed, I allowed her to assume there'd be 5 acres because if I were to sell the place, I'd have to survey it off and plat it. And at that point in time, by looking at it, that 5 acres is probably the minimum necessary for somebody to say, yes, I want that.
So
Does
for
that make
future on
sense?
that, if you do sell it, Wade, 2 acres is all you need.
I know that.
Okay.
But
Just-
from an ideal market standpoint, it's probably closer to that 5.
know he has a heck of a view, so.
So your decision then is to,
For me anyway, that's, I don't know what everybody else thinks,
Table it.
to get those.
I make a motion to table it.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
The primary question that we're gonna get for the next meeting is whether state law mandates that an appraised value is an actual value, correct?
Very quick research, I am 99% confident the answer to that is no.
State law, but if
Correct.
OAG uses it as common practice,
They may.
because if he appeals and we look, he goes and they're
Mhm.
calling it a common practice, we're gonna lose. So I'd like that clarification too.
yep, I'm happy to look that up and give you guys everything. And then Wade, I can send you what I prepared too. That way just everybody has all the paperwork in front of them.
Is it okay with you, Wade, if we get each get emailed a copy of that appraisal, or would you rather?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yep.
One last thing, it comes down to credibility as well. So, if it goes up to appeal, it's, one of the significant considerations will be credibility of the evidence. And so it depends on how that, administrative law judge looks at it and whether they deem whatever you're presenting versus whatever I'm presenting, and the weight of credibility of that report.
I agree with that.
Yep. And like I told the last couple, we don't always win.
Yeah.
So.
Wade, just for your reference, our next meeting is going to be Tuesday, April 28th in the morning, probably around 9 a.m. or shortly thereafter.
Ooh, I have a certification test on that day.
Ooh, not fun.
Okay.
Does it bother you to not be on it? I mean, we'll let you know what the finding is from that.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to change specifically. I mean, this is my input, so.
Yep. And
No, not necessarily.
And feel free to call the office after you look at your information. And we can always talk about how you feel about what I've put together. We could do that.
Or if any new information that you have, you want us to have.
Yeah, and it isn't a feeling so much. I don't even mind paying taxes. I just don't want to pay any more taxes than I absolutely have to, though.
Exactly. Yep. That's why we're all here today.
So if there's no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All same sign, motion passes.
Thank you, Wade.
Thanks, Wade.
Yep, thank you.
Right. Last appeal, Steve Erickson. If I can find him now. This gentleman appealed at the local level. He used to own, I believe it was 80 to 160 acres. I can't remember if he used to own the whole quarter. Back in 2015, he platted it off and retained 17 acres. Kind of like what we've talked about with ag. You have to have 20 acres or proof of ag income. So he appealed to the local board and they lowered him to what they believed ag value would be without using the productivity method. That automatically makes me obligated to bring it here and get the correct productivity. I also needed that ag status application from him, which I finally got. So I have income information off of what he hays. He has a renter that hays it and sells the hay. So the income produced from the land qualifies. So I'm just asking that you accept my recommendation to set the value of the ag land, which is the only thing that has changed, at 59,737.
I move to accept your recommendation.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I need a second. They do get income off that land?
He said that Madison Mason Hedin. Thank you. Madison Landine is someone totally different that built a house. Mason Hedin hays it and then sells it with the rest of his hay, is what I was told. And so he had to go to Mason to get hay receipts, ask Mason how many hay bales he gets, and then break it down to what they actually produce in income off of the land.
Pulling it up here, Beacon quick. And you gotta have how much?
You have to have
$20?
2,500.
I don't have anything to dispute it, other than my gut. Is that? I don't have anything to dispute it other than my gut, but. Because, yeah, that, I mean, that's the only thing that would qualify, and that's, I have a hard time believing that they're getting $2,500 worth. That's just gross sales.
Which that's what it is. It's gross income. It's not net income, it's gross.
And they brought seats down to your office?
No, just the application.
16 acres.
But it's not.
Right.
It's 17 acres total, but it's,
Yeah.
there's 5 acres maybe of grass.
5 acres tillable.
It's
Oh.
just grass, pasture.
Oh,
I mean,
pasture.
so it's brome grass,
Oh,
but. I guess it's, we don't have anything to dispute it with. Because that wasn't in the original, that wasn't the income he was claiming in the original application. He was claiming that he was ag trucks hauling grain,
He's a custom trucking.
right, which is a commercial business.
Yes,
which
that's
doesn't
what I
qualify
told.
For ag status.
That's what I told the board.
But
That's why the local board gave him ag. That's not a reason to have ag.
Well, and the burden of proof falls on the taxpayer to demonstrate. Right? It's
And
not,
they-
it's not
they
upon
did.
us to.
And they did.
so we should swing on the hay.
It's,
So is the ag status forever then? Or do they have to prove that?
I'm planning to review those. I think I talked to you guys about that last year. I don't know when. Let me get some more staff so I can have a dedicated ag person. And then I'm planning to review that because I know there's other parcels out there that are receiving ag status that probably should not. So it's less important in the office right now. In the grand scheme of things.
Okay.
What's that address?
46520 301st. 6 maybe.
Yeah, you just look at my paper.
Here's the picture. You can make it.
You guys still looking? No, go ahead. Oh, so there's no other discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All same sign, motion passes.
Right? Tax exempt status. The first one I have is VCDC. So Travis, you're out.
Yep, Dave, you got this one.
All right, so I've got the VCDC tax exempt status. This one is a little tricky and has some follow-up. They submitted this to me by the deadline of November 1st of 2024 for tax exempt. Oh, no, that's a different one. Ignore me. This one's 2025. They just split it off from the music museum storage area. This would be exempt under a business incubator, same as their other ground out there in that development. So this is the one that is parcel number 15295006000060002.
South of the music thing.
Yeah,
On
it's
Carter
actually-
Street.
The blue, what it actually says for more than a minute. So, yep.
So this was not previously tax exempt.
because of the building, it has to be bare land for it's business incubator is what it's called. It either is specifically, there's very specific statutes for it, but business incubator, if it's bare land, qualifies. So what they have out there that's to be developed for commercial purposes qualifies.
Okay.
So are the other two parcels already
I think so, yes.
like this? Cause they're going to the east and then along the highway.
Yep. So we just need a motion if you accept my recommendation to make it.
Do they want that for the other two is what I'm asking or not?
I think they already are, aren't
They already are.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Why wasn't this?
Because they split it off in the museum.
Mhm.
Oh,
This
all
wasn't
right, all right.
It's a new
Got it.
plat. They filed the plat recent. Yep.
So I'll entertain a motion. Move to declare this a tax exempt parcel.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Everybody in favor? Aye.
I
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
Next one, Missouri Valley Growth. This is the one that's tricky. And I don't remember.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yep.
I'm out on this one.
So this is Jefferson Street. This would be the trees.
Yes, the trees. So they did fill out this application by the deadline of November 1st of 24. It should have been considered as a tax exempt application in 25, payable 26. And for some reason, it didn't make it in my pile, and that is completely on me. So they should have had it in the prior year as well. If you guys accept my recommendation to make it tax exempt, we will be looking at abating the taxes payable in 26. That's a totally different thing for a different day. But just letting you know that this is coming to you a year behind due to my fault.
Did they pay they paid the taxes last year?
They didn't file for tax exempt for taxes payable last year.
Okay.
It was the bill that went out in January.
So this is the first one. This is the one that got lost.
Yep.
Entertain a motion.
I got this one. Dave.
Oh, you got this one?
Jeffrey's the one that's this one.
Oh, I thought this was another chamber one.
Jeffrey. No, Missouri.
It came from Deb at chamber.
Oh, yeah.
This is that Missouri Valley Growth Board.
Well, I'll make a motion to accept it.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Both same sign. Motion passes.
All right, the last tax exempt I have for you is the old, is it the old Apostolic Church on Cottage Street? Get confused on my streets, I'm sorry. This transferred, the previous owner was Christ Church of Vermillion, and now it's the Apostolic Faith Church. So it's just a transfer that happened this past year. For your reference, the sale value was 40,000, so that's how I estimated value since it was tax exempt prior. We just have a change of ownership to another religious exempt entity, and so need to basically continue the tax exempt under a new entity.
And that paperwork's all been filed and we're good.
Yep.
Who's this?
The signer was the person that signed it. Is that what you're asking? That's the pastor's wife.
Is that Robinson?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was my question.
To approve the transfer and keep it tax.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Both same sign. Motion passes.
Okay. Now we have kind of consent agenda items. And my stuff. And everything, make sure I go through stuff in the right order here. So if we want to jump to, this is the tax exempt list. It's just reviewing and approval of that. I know you guys like to take a second to look it over.
So,
They aim to be a nonprofit,
Don't make a lot of money. Doesn't the CEO get paid like millions of dollars?
I think not millions, but several hundred thousand by my research on it.
there are several organizations like that though.
Go to the hospital,
There you go. How much does their CEO get paid?
the hospital.
I totally agree.
I'm not even talking here. I'm
Everywhere.
everywhere.
Goodwill is a 501c3.
I did a lot of research before presenting that one last year. I wanted to make sure I was like, yeah.
Seems odd.
Pretty nice building they put up.
You know? Yeah. Don't even hear stuff and then I will sell it.
Yeah,
We'll tax it again too.
Yes.
I'm kicking it.
Anybody have any questions on the exempts?
Getting there. It's 221 Spruce Board of Regents.
Is that their chunk of ground out by the?
Oh, is that the parking lot? Kind of, the Spruce Street's pretty short.
I thought that was.
I thought that was all Bill Wood.
I think they bought something on the,
Rose Street.
221 is between Dakota and Rose, and it's it like sits between two apartment complexes.
Okay,
It's like,
so it must be the end lot right by Rose Street then.
no, it's in the middle of the block.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but they also, they,
Wagner. Foundation.
No, this is right by McDonald's, basically. Spruce Street's that short little street there.
I think they bought something on the south side that faces Cherry Street in conjunction with it. Like they bought a.
House.
And I think they sold
They
together.
got big gray.
It's an alleyway, not a road in between.
It's the one right on the corner.
You're right.
No, it's kind
Oh,
of
it's,
middle.
it's next to that sixplex, I think, that single story sixplex to the east, big gray house.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Now I'm clicking. Okay.
Faces, and that's Dakota, that's Rose.
Just making sure.
A lot. I don't know, Dick Hammond's got the percentage of,
I do.
you've got what's the
Andy needed it for something last year sometime. And county-wide, it's about 6% by land mass. I don't have by value because we don't set values on exempt properties. We probably should. Because there's some weird insurance stuff. They only take the assessment on it. I don't know, it's weird. But by land mass, it's 6% county-wide. Within the city of Vermillion, it's 40%.
Dude.
40% by
Exempt.
Well, we figured, and this was before COVID. Value wise, we figured 35 to 40% was untaxed.
I think that's what I was hearing from Dick, yeah.
He's just figure out the value to leave that.
A lot of that probably in the, in the university and in the.
I mean, a good chunk of land mass is the cemetery and you're never gonna get value on that, but I mean, that makes up a lot of acres.
That's a big area.
Cemetery with a bluff view, that'd be bendy land.
That's the funny thing. That's why they put the cemetery there.
Yeah.
Because it was worthless.
Yes.
The words of Al Sherbick and what was it? Cemeteries and golf courses are the biggest waste of prime real estate.
Yep.
I move to approve the nonprofit list or the exempt property list.
Second, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion passes.
All right, we're down to the last 3 pages. Third page from the end, we've got owner occupied additions and removals. Can make 2 motions on this. The additions, we send out notices March 1st, but as soon as we send it to the printer, we can't make changes. People are allowed to file for owner occupied status up until March 15th. So we had 4 applications come in after we sent notices, but before the deadline. So we just need you to authorize the director to process the owner occupied applications that were received after notices of assessment were mailed, but before the deadline.
So move.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same sign, motion passes.
Okay, in the same vein, we have removals. These were owner occupied properties that they applied for a different property. The removal process, we have to send them a notice of removal and allow them time to decide if they're going to retain it at that property or go ahead with the new one that they've applied for. So this is our list of removals that we received notice of after notices went out.
Move to approve.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign, motion passes.
All right, elderly and disabled trees. Finally.
Wake up.
So you need to instruct my office to apply value freezes. This is something that gets processed by the treasurer first. It's an income-based program. If you remember last year with Governor Bill 216, they increased valuation limits. They went from somewhere to the tune of like 350 or 370 all the way up to $514,000 value caps. So we had more people that would qualify because their property was not overvalued for this. They also increased the income limitations. I don't remember how much because that's not what I check. That's what Rhonda checks. So all in, she had 73 applicants. 11 of them were denied, 61 were approved, and one was received late. So with that late one, the process with that, with the codified law, is that if they miss the deadline but would otherwise qualify, they can proceed to do an abatement in January for the difference. At this point, we have it before the board, so I guess what Rhonda and I are asking is that you approve the late applicant with the rest of them so that we can just skip the abatement process.
So is that the only thing we need to vote on then? Is that?
Yep, approving all 73, I would say. Unless you want to just approve this stuff, or
Oh, all 62?
62, thank
Okay.
you.
Yep.
Numbers.
There's a lot of numbers
Yes,
today.
a lot of numbers today.
I move to approve the 62 applicants.
Secondly.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Okay, thank you.
That's
What, was that late one, the one from the meeting the other day? That lady?
No,
Oh,
no, when someone else came in literally the next day,
okay.
and I'm just like. Anyway, so we talked and.
It's the same way I process veterans exemptions because it's the same rule of law with those. I mean, I had one walk in on Friday and I went, yep, gotcha. So like, it's quicker, it's less burden on the taxpayer, less administrative burden. Yep. Okay, so veterans exemptions, authorizing me to exempt the portion. The veterans exemption didn't change. I know there's changes coming up with codified law. We talked about that this morning. I don't know what they are yet. So for 2026, up to 200,000 of the owner occupied portion of the property is exempted. We removed 2 veterans that no longer own the property. We had 31 existing veterans that stayed on, 5 widows that stayed on, and we ended up adding 9 veterans this year for a total of 45 veterans. The value exempted went up 19.4%, which I think is interesting, but I give you the dollar amount there of how much value is exempted for our disabled vets. So again, just authorization to apply the exemptions.
Move to approve the veterans owner occupied exemptions.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
These last 3 are different. I'm adding them to the agenda this year. These are things that we process when we do abstracts. And if we find errors in the past, our office is not able to make changes. Once you adjourn as a board, we're not able to make changes. So these are kind of blanket covering some of the other exemptions and freezes that we process in our office, just to make sure I don't have issues when I'm getting ready to submit my abstract of value to the state. So the first is the historic moratorium. We still have 3 properties that qualify. I have the starting year and ending year. What this does is if they have, there's a specific letter from the National Historic Society and it freezes a portion of their value for 8 years when they're doing renovations on historic properties. So just need approval to make changes for that.
So, second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
The last one is discretionary formula. We process these as we go. Occasionally I'll find errors in how we did it when we're going through abstracts. So for the most part, they're good though. I broke it down for you. This is more of a knowledge information on the 5-year ag, 5-year commercial, 7-year residential that we have. But we have 93 total parcels that have $17,815,889 in value that's subject to discretionary, which means it's future growth. It's value that's out there that's rolling onto the tax bills or assessment values, not tax bills, but it's future growth.
Yep, move to authorize the director to make those changes.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? So how do you get future growth on ag parcels?
So when you build a new grain bin, If the value is over $10,000, you get a 5-year discretionary. So in the first year, you're taxed on 2,000. The next year, you're taxed on 4, 8, or 6, 8, again, numbers.
Okay.
So the future growth is whatever is currently in that discretionary.
Okay.
Mhm. Oh, and then the last one I have for you is error corrections.
We have to vote.
Oh, sorry.
There's no further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Both same sign, motion passes.
Last one I have for you is error corrections. Per codified law 101126, you're allowed to direct me to correct errors. Last year we found quite a few parcels where we had it would not change their value, would not change the outcome of their tax bill, but we had like urban classes in rural areas and vice versa. And it really messes with our numbers when we send it to the state. So that's pretty much what I will be using error corrections for.
Make sure allow you to do error corrections as needed.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Both same sign, motion passes.
All right. And then we're recessing till we hear Wade's on the 28th, right? I don't know.
So I was gonna add to that, we adjourned this morning, but I'm
Oh.
comfortable with that, and here's why. 10-11-25 says that the board shall meet annually the second Tuesday in April. The board shall continue in session and may adjourn from time to time until all properly filed appeals have been determined and equalization is complete. The board may remain in session no longer than 3 weeks after the second Tuesday in April. So that language specifically allows adjournment until everything has been completed, so long as it's all completed within 3 weeks from today. So I think in the past, we've gone back and forth on whether or not we should say we're in recess or that we're adjourned. The statute states that you may adjourn from time to time.
Make a motion, we adjourn till April 28th at 9 a.m. Motion and a second, further discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Both same sign. And the book stay with Linnea.
Yep.